What's up, Sifters? Welcome to GameFace, episode 439 on Sifted Games at sifted.net, and for the first time ever, live on YouTube. That's right, the first live episode of GameFace is on YouTube today, so our YouTube crew, finally, I have delivered on my promises, and I always do. Sometimes it takes a little while to get everything organized and set up, but eventually I deliver on what I promised you guys, and we are live on YouTube right now. And when I say we, I mean Matt Keil and myself. What's up, Matt?
Hey.
You excited to be on YouTube for the first time?
Feels about the same.
It does. I don't know if it's going to feel the same for you guys. I'm not going to get into all the crazy technical stuff that I went through to make this happen. Some of you guys were on my test stream that I did earlier in the week. It was way easier to do it from home than it was from here for some reason. At home, I was able to just click a button and just connect the accounts, and it just worked. Here, I had to go in and do a bunch of stuff manually, but I think I got it set up. Now, the big X factor here is the bit rate. I was not able to, and hopefully for next week I'll have this sorted, but with this other setup, I wasn't able to set the bit rate for each stream. So it could be a case where one stream looks really awesome and the other one looks kind of meh. Again, this is our first time. We'll iron out the kinks eventually. We'll get both streams looking really good, but please let us know about feedback. The other thing too is that for today, and I'm sorry about this, YouTube crew, we're probably not going to work with YouTube chat too much today. We're just trying to get one thing done at a time and then get it into the process and the procedure and the production and then move on to the next thing. So next week, hopefully, bit rates will be sorted and we'll make sure that we get YouTube chat more involved into the show. But anyway, what's up, YouTube crew? It feels good to finally be able to do this, because the other thing, Matt, was that we weren't allowed to do it for a long time because Twitch, we're an affiliate with Twitch. And for the longest time, Twitch was like, if you're an affiliate with us, you can't stream anywhere else. And then late last year, I think it was, they finally lifted that. And that's when we started thinking about doing streams on YouTube and on Twitch at the same time. And it took a while, but we finally got here. We are finally live on YouTube and Twitch at the same time. Pretty excited for me anyway. Hopefully once we get working with the YouTube crew, all the stuff that goes along with those streams, we can start working with that. I think the big X factor still is name that game tune. And I think I have decided at this point that we're just going to go with the Twitch chat for that. That's where we build our audience. Twitch people understand it. I feel like we'd be kind of bailing on what we've built all this time on Twitch if we move that game over. And I don't think it's fair either, because another caveat with this that I didn't mention is the way we got it to work is you have to stream on YouTube first. You have to send the stream signal to YouTube first, and then you can tack on Twitch. You can't do it in reverse. If you try to tack YouTube onto a Twitch stream, it won't work, which is what happened last week. So we do have to stream on YouTube first, which means that whoever would be on YouTube would probably have an advantage in answering before people on Twitch. So anyway, all kinds of kinks to work out. The bottom line is that we're finally on YouTube today, people. And for me, that's very exciting. There was a lot of work and a lot of research and whatever to try to get this to work. Some weird side-loading app on the side of OBS. It's crazy. So anyway, I'm glad that we're finally here. Matt, how has your week been?
All right.
Yeah? You do anything fun?
Saw some movies.
Yeah? Good ones?
Well, yeah, I thought 28 years later was pretty good.
Yeah?
And Elio was pretty good, although I seem to be one of the few who saw that one.
You're the one.
Yeah.
You went to see it. That's a shame that it did so poorly.
Yeah, it's actually the first Pixar movie I've seen in a theater since 2015.
Oh, the irony.
I didn't really know much about it because they haven't advertised. They barely done anything with it. But I knew it was about space.
Yeah, I haven't seen any ads for it at all.
Neither have I.
Yeah.
I think I saw a trailer for it last year, just a teaser, and my friend wanted to go see it before he leaves for Hungary, so I was like, okay, why not? And so it was good. It was good. It's it's not great. It was mid-range Pixar, I'd say, but it was good. Some fun stuff.
And what about 28 years later? Obviously, I'm even more interested in that.
I thought that was good. I mean, it's there's some maybe character logic issues in there, but it's
a horror movie.
It's a horror movie. It's sort of
give them a pass a little bit. Yeah.
The last 60 seconds certainly swerve in an interesting direction.
I saw the ending is some I don't know what it is, but I just saw headlines like ending is nuts, ending fans. Blah, blah, blah.
I think it would have been better served if they, because the last 60 seconds of the final scene, I think you should have ended it, gone to credits, and had the last 60 seconds be like a mid-credits thing.
I see.
Because it's really a tease for the next one. Which it turned out on Friday they announced they've already basically finished it. It's already shot and finished. Nia DaCosta directed it. It's coming out in January.
That's crazy.
So
that's cool, though.
They said they wanted to do 3. Alex Garland's writing all 3. Danny Boyle will be back to direct the 3rd one.
I'm glad they have the same writer on all 3.
Yeah,
that's good.
Garland is he's a very good writer. I have my issues with a couple of Sunshine is still one of the dumbest third acts I've ever seen in a fucking movie, but like. To be fair, a bunch of stuff around that time is also what convinced Garland to start directing his own movies. So there you go.
Yeah.
But he didn't want to direct these because he just directed 2 things back to back. So Danny Boyle came back, which is good. We watched 28 Days and 28 Weeks Later in preparation for this. And 28 Days Later is still really good. And 28 Weeks Later is still awful.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen either of them since I think they came out.
Yeah.
And Weeks Later was just terrible.
I've seen Days Later several times.
Yeah, I mean, Days Later is really good.
Yeah,
still holds up.
I think it does too. Yeah.
There's the one scene where the guy gets the blood in the eye. I think it was that's one of the biggest audience reactions I've ever heard in a theater. Like everyone just like, oh, like, it's really good. It's
for good reason.
Yeah, it's very effective.
Yeah.
And, Weeks is just. I do remember at the time when Weeks came out, there was like a guy who ran a forum I was on who insisted it was like the best movie of the year.
Oh wow!
And we got it. Like I think that almost spilled over into physical violence at one point at E3. Like it was.
I could see that.
It was just like no.
Yeah,
no,
you're wrong.
No.
Yeah. Opinions are opinions, but your opinion's wrong.
as Gene Siskel said, there's a point at which a difference of opinion shades off into an error of fact.
Yeah. I like that line.
When you say The Valachi Papers is a better film than The Godfather, you are wrong.
Just wrong.
And I have seen The Valachi Papers purely because of that quote.
Right.
And in fact, Gene Siskel is correct, and it is not better than The Godfather. It's not bad.
Shocker.
Valachi Papers is not a bad film,
but
there's a reason you've never heard of it, but you have heard of The Godfather.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's cool. Should people go see that in the theater? Is it worth it?
I think there's a lot of cool moments, and he's shot on iPhone 15s. So
really,
that's
kind of crazy.
Kind of testament to the way the first one was shot on those old digital XLRs.
Yeah.
Which is why the original movie looks terrible.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah.
Like there's a Blu-ray of it, but there's only so much you can do with it. And then you get to that final scene, which is shot on 35 millimeter, and you're like, oh my god, it looks so good. It's amazing. Like the last act, like the final scenes, the final showdown and the big thing at the end are all shot on film. So
which is so weird.
Well, because it was it was so dark, you kind of had to.
Yeah.
You forget how primitive digital video is.
Oh, you're right. The darks would just get crushed.
The main reason for the digital, I think, was the run and gun. We have to, because they shot all the empty London scenes basically early in the morning.
Right.
Because they couldn't afford to really shut anything down. So they just sort of did their best and set things up and go, and then
hope
clean
a car
everything up and ran away.
Pass
Pretty
through
much,
an intersection down the way.
Those are all just shot so early in the morning that there's nobody on the road yet.
That's great.
And it's it's very effective.
Yeah.
It works really well.
That's awesome.
But yeah, and the new one introduces some interesting new, confirms a couple things about the zombies, and it's gonna make it more interesting going forward. Ray Fiennes is great, doing the role Ray Fiennes played at one point in time would have been played by Pete Postlethwaite. So he's kind of doing his best Pete Postlethwaite version of himself in this, and it's very effective.
Okay.
And I also will say I think the kid in it, you will see him in more things.
Good kid actors.
He's very good.
They stand out.
He's very, very good.
They're few and far between.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but this kid pulls it off, I think.
That's great.
Holds his own next to Aaron Taylor Johnson, which is, I don't know if that's praise really or not, but the kid stands out better than Craven, that's for sure.
Wow.
So,
all right.
I think it's worth seeing. I do think it's going to really hinge on how tolerant you are of really? You're going to do that? Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, you need people in a horror movie to do a couple dumb things to get the horror movie rolling. So as long as you're prepared for that.
Okay. Couple things before we get going. You may be wondering if we're going to review Death Stranding 2 in today's show. That is a no. I did not get early code for that, so I have not played it yet. So that will be, obviously, the marquee game in next week's episode of GameFace. Excuse me. However, we are going to tackle 4 other games. We're going to cover Donkey Kong Bananza because they had a gigantic Nintendo Direct just for that game this week. We're going to simmer all that down to the important bits for you guys. We're going to preview the Blood of Dawnwalker, which is the new game from a bunch of ex-Witcher developers that's all about vampires. They put out a 20-plus minute demo of that this past week, and we're going to dive into that and look at all the stuff that they showed there. We're going to review FBC Firebreak, which is Remedy's new shooter set in the Control universe, and we're going to review, at the end, maybe we should have bumped it up, probably the game that everyone's talking about right now, which is Rematch, which is the cel-shaded soccer game. So we have a big show full of awesome stuff for you guys today. First, though, let's talk about the Death Stranding 2 reviews. Those are out there on my fantasy team. I have to admit, I'm pleasantly surprised by the scores so far. I do have a feeling they might go down. Right now, it's sitting at a 9.0. In all honesty, only a couple of the big outlets have reviewed it so far. If you go and look at Metacritic, it's mostly like iloveplaystation.com reviews.
It's like IGN and a bunch of like fanboy sites.
Pretty much, yeah. So my guess is, I think whenever I drafted it, my hopes
I
were
expect some sanity to hit the Metacritic average at some point, yes.
My guess is eventually it gets down to like about what I said when I drafted it, which is like an 8.5, an 8.6, something like that. What are your impressions kind of the review scores you've seen rolling in?
I haven't seen a ton of stuff. I haven't really been paying attention.
Yeah. I would never guess that, Matt, because you love the first game much.
I guess the most interesting thing, I guess, is just how one of the things people keep talking about is how there's no load time.
Oh, really?
Like, it's all instant, like, no matter what you're doing, which is, I guess,
that's cool. Yeah.
And how everybody keeps comparing Norman Reedus between the two different games in that one PlayStation 3 game he was in. And so I guess now the metric for generational leaps in graphical tech is just Norman Reedus.
That's kind of funny.
He does look better in the new one.
He does, yeah.
Like you look at the difference, and
he should.
He looks a lot more like a living creature in the new one. Like the first game really does have kind of an uncanny valley thing happening.
It was right there on that
Not
edge,
even like with all the characters, just mostly with him.
Yeah.
And like also there's the thing where like I don't know, like I don't know the man, I know nothing about him. He's probably entirely a fine person. I don't like looking at him.
Yeah.
He's just maybe it's just because the first time I ever saw him was as Daryl, and I just assume it's just what I associate it. But I don't I don't like that he looks at me in the resting room scenes, and sometimes he winks at me, and I'm just like, don't fucking do that. Like what?
Well, the thing was with him with The Walking Dead, at the beginning of the show, he was kind of like the dumb guy. He was like the dumb biker dude. Over the course of that show, as fans started resonating with him, he was transformed by the show team into a much more thoughtful, intelligent, planning, cunning
a little
character.
bit like Sawyer in Lost.
That's true, actually.
So,
yeah, it's kind of the same thing.
Like Sawyer just started as the general asshole, but because he was a fan favorite, he became a more
all the women loved him.
person.
Yeah.
Although there's part of me that like. This is weird, I guess, but there's part of me that wonders if I would have liked Days Gone better if Norman Reedus had been the main character. Just because it feels like he looks like that character should have been. Like, I just don't believe that character is who he is in that game. Because I did try, load it up again because they did the update for the PC version for free. And I'm just like, because I just played Death Stranding 1 again to try to get through. I still didn't finish it. I never got there. But I was like, you know what? If Norman Reedus had been this character, I feel like I might have bought it more.
Yeah.
Like he just would come off as more authentic.
He is perfect for that role.
Yeah.
I mean, the biker zombie fighting dude. I mean...
Yeah. And there's something he does about the kind of world weary cynicism that I think wouldn't feel as forced as it does when Sam Witwer does it. I don't know.
I could see that. Here's my question. Are you excited to play Death Stranding 2?
Not in any way whatsoever.
Really?
No.
I kind of am. Even though you've played way more of the first one than I did, I definitely checked out before you did.
I really tried.
Yeah, you really did.
I did enjoy building highways.
Yeah,
like I built a lot of roads.
Yeah.
Every time I log into that game, I get like 100,000 likes for like being offline, people driving on my roads.
That's crazy.
Which I do. I think that's pretty cool.
It's cool. Yeah.
But then I have to actually play. Do this like fucking trudging through the oil shit.
Muck.
It's none of the gameplay is enjoyable to me.
See, that's what I'm hoping with this one. It sounds like that was the big focus. So
I guess, but it's just I don't know. Like it's so, I just don't care. I just don't care what Kojima has to say. I don't care what stupid story he's going to tell. Like, I understand what he's going for in that first game, and it's all really dumb. Yeah. Like, it's like a child's idea of intelligence. Mm-hmm. And then you just run it through this weird filter of this, like,
literally
it's
weird.
But it's like, oh, it's America. No, it's not America. There's nothing related to America in this fucking, nothing sounds like America. Yeah. Nothing reacts like, I mean, I know he's trying to like make a critique of it, but none of it rings any, even the stuff I agree with doesn't ring true about the criticisms of America, because none of it feels like it's taking place in America. None of these people feel like Americans. None of it makes any sense. And like, it doesn't go at any length to explain, as you slowly sort of piece together like the metaphysics of what happened and what the Death Stranding was and who the girl is and who he is and who the baby is and all this. You're like, there's no discussion of like how the entire metaphysical underlines of reality are completely different from every single possible idea of what that would be in terms of the major religions and spiritual beliefs of all of humanity throughout all of history have ever been, and everyone just sort of accepts that it's all this weird handprints on the ground shit, and it's just like no one is going to talk about how fucking weird this is, that this is just how life is now, and everyone's just like asking me to deliver them pizza. It's fucking like,
you make a good point though. It's like them trying to say this is America kind of detaches you from the idea.
Well, also because
it's so absurd.
Well, right, and also because it's all very clearly Iceland.
Right.
Like, I know the world is different because like other dimensional dead things came down and touched everything or whatever, but it's like, that's not what America looks like.
Yeah. It is Iceland.
You're supposed to be in Utah and you're just running around Iceland.
The fjords.
It's nonsense.
You're right. Yeah,
and someone's going to be like, well, that's the whole point of the metaphor. Fuck you. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, it's so, like, you got to work so hard to meet this game halfway in terms of what it's trying to do and trying to say, and it's just so fucking boring.
Yeah. I got really bored by the first game very quickly.
And I'm sorry, I don't think, like, everyone's like, oh, the trailers are new, like, look, I'm like shooting. I was like, okay, you really think the most interesting thing you could do instead of making me deliver fetch quests the whole time is shoot giant oil monsters? Yeah. Like, anything of interest, none of it's here. Yeah. None of it is in here. So no, I do not give a shit about this game.
I am oddly still excited and interested to play it. I may play it for 10 hours and hate it just like I did the first game, but there's just something about it. Like, I had hopes for the first game that weren't delivered on, and I guess I've just, like, transferred those hopes onto the sequel somehow. Mm-hmm. It's probably not smart. But I'm going to give it a fair shot, and I'm going to give it a play, and we'll talk about it next week on GameFace. It's not going to add...
I mean, because he's a terrible storyteller. He's terrible at it. And he's not even consistent with his own shit.
The problem is he has too many people telling him he's not bad at it.
True. And to the point where it's like, as soon as people like something, he changes
right.
it. And, like, And the stupid thing is, like, I read the full interview on that, and I'm like, you know what? I mostly agree with him in terms of what he's saying, because what he's talking about there is actually narrative. Like, he's talking about story. Mm-hmm. He's saying, like, if everyone likes what you're doing story-wise, it means you're not bringing up anything uncomfortable, you're not making them think about anything, and that is a problem, and you should make it more problematic to kind of and I agree with that. I think that's true. I just don't think he does that very well. Yeah. I think making it weird and confusing is not the same thing as coming up with something interesting to say.
I agree.
And it's like, everyone's like, I do see a lot of people with your same attitude of like, well, maybe this time he'll kind of...
It's like Lucy with the football.
It's like, yeah, exactly. It's like, man, do you remember in Metal Gear Solid 2 when Liquid Snake possessed Ocelot through the power of his arm that was grafted onto Ocelot?
Yeah.
And then in Metal Gear Solid 3, it was it was explained that like maybe not. Yeah. And then in Metal Gear Solid 3, it was like, oh, Ocelot is the son of the sorrow of this like psychic person, so he's susceptible to being possessed by the ghost of Liquid, so it was real. And then in Metal Gear Solid 4, he had the arm cut off and replaced with a cybernetic limb, and hypnotized himself to think he was being possessed by the spirit of Liquid Snake, because nanomachines, son. And it's just like, how the fuck does anyone fucking defend this guy anymore in terms of writing? Like, it's just
I'll be honest,
fucking nonsense.
I haven't really enjoyed one of his games since, like, the first Metal Gear Solid.
Agreed.
I've never really been a fan of his.
People I like Zone of the Enders.
Liked his games way more. I like Zoe.
But I don't know how much he exactly had to do with it. It sounds like he was more of a producer. Mm-hmm. It sounds like he was more one of the people who helped it actually happen, rather than he was hands-on, like, I'm going to write this sort of thing.
On it. Yeah.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid 1 is the last Kojima game I really enjoyed. I would say that's accurate.
Yep.
Just like, and I'm not taking away from, like, I think Death Stranding is a very impressive technical achievement.
It is, yeah. Graphically, it's really amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Like, even just seeing all the stuff they're pulling off.
It's crazy.
Playing it again on PC, the director's cut, and it's just like even the detail of the little rain. But it's like, I don't even remember how far into the game, because like every time all this shit happens, he cries when all the fucking chiral shit happens, and I'm like, what? And it's like 2/3 through the game, it's like, oh, he's allergic to chiral energy. It makes his eyes water, and I'm like, what? What?
Yeah. That is...
What the fuck? Like,
it's
so stupid.
It really is.
How am I supposed to know that?
I know.
And then once I know it, what do I do with it? Because it's so dumb.
It's like, who cares?
So I thought he was crying because it was like the world where the line between death and life has been eroded, so he's like seeing into the... No, he's just allergic to the fucking magic.
Also, like, people have allergies that far in the future? That sucks.
I don't think that's supposed to be that far in the future.
I guess you're right, actually. So anyway, we'll be talking about Death Stranding 2 in next week's show. You can't wait for that, I guarantee.
Buckle up.
Yeah, seriously. I can see all the people on YouTube that love Kojima just closing the stream right now. Oh, I should never watch this.
I doubt I'll have that strong an opinion about it, because the only reason I have like really fully formed opinions about Death Stranding 1 is because I've gone back to try to play it 3 times. Yeah. And now I'm just like, okay, I got distance from the hype, and I mean, not that I was ever hyped for it, but like, you got to get some distance from sort of the release nonsense, no matter what you think about a game sometimes, before you really look at it clearly and be like, as much as I like building roads, and as much as I enjoy hauling things by UPS truck, because it really did open the game up for me when I could get a truck of my own, as opposed to just stealing it from the Raiders.
Changed everything, yeah.
I was driving this beat-up Raider truck for like 5 hours until I unlocked the ability to get like build my own. I'm like, oh, this is shiny, right? Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'll have like, or I'll just be like, I just want to do anything else than play this game. I don't know. I've had that reaction to a couple things.
Well, we'll see. Just a week away until you get our impressions of Death Stranding.
Speaking of not wanting to play literally anything else, Donkey Kong.
Yeah. Well, actually, maybe we may change your mind with that here in a little bit. We'll see.
I didn't see the whole presentation, but I did not particularly change my mind.
I'm surprised to hear
I'm very surprised by what it is and kind of what they're doing with it, but it still doesn't really look very appealing to me.
One thing left over for housekeeping, one other thing that's happening this week, another game that Matt loves, Marvel Tokon. What's the subtitle for that? Fighting Souls or something?
Yeah, because that's what Tokon means. Tokon means fighting spirit. It's called Marvel Fighting Spirit Fighting Souls. Yeah. Or whatever it is. It's like it's just, you got to change the name, guys, for Western related. Tokon doesn't mean anything to English speakers.
Well, there is a state of play coming for this on Thursday from PlayStation where they'll blow out the game. I felt like they just blew out the game at the state of play. I mean, it got, what, like 10 or 15 minutes of coverage in that?
Yeah, but, I mean, there's clearly going to be way more characters, so everybody wants to see more.
Yeah.
And it hit very well, so you might as well keep striking while the iron's hot.
Yeah. I'm a little surprised that already they're going to show a lot more. That
just, to me, says to me they have a lot to show.
Yeah.
Like, if they're going to keep going this hard this early, because this is next year. Who knows when next year?
Yeah, it's next year. And this is also coming to PC, by the way. It's not just PlayStation 5. But you'll learn a lot more about this game coming up on Thursday. Again, there's a state of play. And if you are a regular user of SIFTD at sifted.net...
Vincent said it is not this. It is Arc System Works is just having a showcase, and it may not even be there.
Yeah, it is called the Arc System blah, blah, blah. But no, the press release that they sent me in the email mentioned this game. They're definitely going to show something about it. Maybe they just reveal a new character or something like that.
My imagine for tag fighters, you're probably going to reveal in pairs.
Yeah.
And the rumor is that there's tons of characters in this. Because there has to be.
Yeah.
Because there's so many.
Because you have to use so many in each match. So my guess is they'll probably just debut some new characters. Also, what else does Arc System Works have?
Well, I mean, they've got Grand Blue going,
right?
And that's just.
Is it still going?
Oh yeah, they're in a new season.
Really? Because we haven't got anything for those games in a long time.
They just showed the new character at it wasn't CEO. It was the previous tournament. There've been a lot of fighting game.
There have
tournaments.
Been, yeah.
No, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus is still going very, very strong.
Yeah, it's still in all the big tourneys, so people are still playing it for sure. But anyway, if this game caught your eye during not E3/Summer Game Fest 2025, You're going to get a little more about it on Thursday, so you keep an eye open for that. We're just about to kick off into the show, but let's check in.
Vincent says they also are going to reveal a new game. Which they're larger than you think they are. They've got a lot of stuff going on.
That's surprising because they just revealed a new game a month ago, not even a month ago.
They've got several teams.
Yeah, that's impressive actually for our system.
I don't know what their other game would be. Like usually they've done Blaze Blue, but that became Grand Blue. Once that hit big, I guess they could do another Blaze Blue if they wanted to, but it feels like redundant.
Kind of, yeah.
I don't know.
Pretty much all it makes is fighting games.
Oh yeah, they're a fighting game company, no question.
Would it be crazy though if they didn't do a fighting game?
I mean, I guess they could also do a shoot 'em up, like a bullet hell thing. That's
about it.
That's in their wheelhouse.
Yeah. So anyway, there you go. That's our housekeeping for episode 439. Again, Death Stranding 2 is the next week's show, and Marvel ToeCon. You're gonna get a new taste of that on Thursday. So let's check in with you guys, see what you guys are up to, see how your week's been going. I'm going to scroll up here a little bit because we haven't checked in with you guys before the stream started. I'm sure a lot of the early stuff is all about the YouTube stream, and hopefully that's going okay, YouTube people. I hope that stream is looking all right and sounding all right. You get to check out some of the first gameplay footage running through the stream, so if the bitrate's crappy, you should know by now. How does the stream look on Twitch, by the way? That would be helpful as well.
People are saying it looks fine on Twitch.
Okay, that's
but obviously
good.
We can't see...
Yeah, can't see YouTube. Okay, Free Jack 1310, thank you for Twitch Prime. Tez 8420, thank you for Twitch Prime. Mike Zilla 2, first time chat. Welcome to GameFace Live. I don't know if you've been a lurker all this time and finally just gathered up the guts to chat, but come back. We're here every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. Stream stuff. Hail to Starscream, thank you for Twitch Prime. One Super Master Gamer, thank you. Lord Dobrev, thank you for your first time chat as well. That's awesome. Welcome to GameFace. Immortan Joe, thank you for Twitch Prime. Sim Racing GG, thank you for Twitch Prime. Lots of people jumping in here. Stolty69, thank you. Longtime supporter. I hope you're doing real good. Twitch bitrate seems good as usual. That's good to see. How long before you start streaming on OnlyFans? That's definitely not happening. Maybe 30 years ago, 20 years ago. Even then, definitely not happening. What else we got here? Tiny2K, thank you for subscribing at Tier 1. That's awesome. And as always, guys, always remember to go at SIFTD Games if you have something that we want to read on the show. It makes it easier for us to find it in the long scroll of comments. Link's so good. Thank you for Twitch Prime. What else we got here? Matt, did you ever see the first Clerks where they closed the steel shutters to block out people walking in front of the store when they were filing and how when they were filming?
It's a typo.
And how they worked it into the story with someone jammed Jim in... Okay. Yeah. Do you know what he's talking about?
Yeah. It's a famous thing from Clerks where because they couldn't, shut anything down. It was just they were shooting in the store, so they just closed the shutters, and so you couldn't see people moving back and forth and outside the store. And so nobody was poking their head in the store.
Right.
And so in the movie, they just say that the shutters are jammed because somebody stuck gum in them.
That's great. That's very clever. That's what you got to do in production, though, man. You got to get smart. Akuma MVC2 says GameSpot gave it a 7. Yeah, it was definitely the lowest score of them all. And that poor editor that wrote that review, some of the comments on that review were really, really awful. Like, really awful. Like, way over the line.
A long tradition going back to at least Ocarina of Time or Shenmue, maybe.
Well, there was a Penny Arcade comic made for Game Trailers about our review of Metal Gear Solid 4. Because we gave it a 9.4, and people lost their frickin' minds and said it should be a 9.7. And it was so bad that Penny Arcade made a comic about it. And I think it's their numbers. It's like the number 4 and the number 7 talking to each other.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was all because we gave their game a 9.4, and that wasn't good enough. Kojima stans are psychos, man, a lot of them. They really are. They're completely delusional. They can't see reality. I feel bad for that GameSpot editor. It was awful.
But explain why they like that garbage, I guess.
Maybe.
like 9.4. I mean, I reviewed Metal Gear Solid 4 as well. I gave it a 5 out of 5 at the time because I thought that game actually played well. I don't know the lore well enough to know all the weird little nitpicks that people come up with and why they hate Metal Gear Solid. And now if you look into Kojima world, Metal Gear Solid 4 is trash.
All right. But a 9.4 wasn't good enough.
9.4 wasn't good enough then, but now everyone's like, it's like
now it's a 7.4.
It's like a 6. Let's say, yeah. So
it's hilarious. I've been dealing with this stuff for a long time. I know a lot of the editors working at these publications. A lot of times when they get carpet bombed like this, it's the first time they've had to deal with it. So I feel for the guy. I can't tell you how many times it's happened to me. Just dozens and dozens of times where the whole world hated me. So you get used to it and you learn to just shrug it off after a while. But
I didn't get really a lot of that. I'm trying to think of the time. I got some hate mail because I gave we gave Jedi Outcast a lower score. We gave it a 4.
The thing about working at G4 and on X-Play was you were protected. They didn't know that you reviewed it, so like they just go after Adam and Morgan.
Yeah,
and
or like they'd have to
alone.
look at the website or something. Yeah, they have to look at the website, see the author of it. But yeah, most people just assume that whoever narrated the segment
was the one who reviewed it. So
as though Adam and Morgan didn't were just
like they could review 80 games a week. It's so funny. Let's see. Swan Senpai says, I find Kojima to be disingenuous, like he's just doing weird stuff for a weird sake, no rhyme or reason. Commander Fett says, as someone who lives in Utah, there are some places that look like Iceland, but they're hard to find.
Yeah, but I mean, basically, the whole America in Death Stranding looks like Iceland. Like there's no real variance in terrain. It's just sort of volcanic island the whole way, which is, I don't know if you know this, not what the United States looks like.
Hawaii, maybe.
At the very least, you could have just made Kansas flat.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. Like I don't know where. I mean, okay, everything's barren because like the fucking world ended, but like that doesn't mean that there's igneous rocks everywhere in Oklahoma. Like, just come on.
Erebus Jones says MGS1 was brilliant. Unrelated side note: when I was 16, I thought the X-Files was the deepest thing ever. I mein, he's bringing up a point that at certain ages eventually you evolve and you consume things that are of a higher level, but you can be fooled very easily when you're younger.
I also like MGS1 because. And I got crucified for saying this at the time on Usenet, but I said, I liked MGS1 because basically it's a minigame collection. It's just a bunch of, all the boss battles and all the little sections you do between the story scenes are just basically little minigames, the minigame collection. And people lost their fucking minds that I would reduce it to such a... And then like years later for the 20th anniversary, they did a bunch of interviews with everybody, and one of the main producers was like Kojima didn't really give us a lot of direction on the gameplay. He just said to make a bunch of minigames and he'd connect them with story. I'm like, thank you! There's the lead creative director who's just was like, he just made a bunch of mini games and then Kojima wrote cutscenes between them. Like, yeah, that's exactly what that game is. And it pretty much works.
Because it doesn't keep your brilliance at bay. You can just create the most crazy stuff and just find any way to couch it in between.
Yeah. And, like, even better, like, you're not doing the same thing over and over again. Like, every boss fight is completely different. You're always doing something new, which is something that you cannot really say about the other Metal Gears.
You can't really say that about most games, let's be fair.
It's certainly not true of Death Stranding.
Right? That's true, yeah. Casey Delta Tango, thank you for Twitch Prime. Very Gooster, thank you for subscribing at Tier 1. Mercius, thank you for Twitch Prime. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Casey Delta Tango, since you hooked us up, we will answer your question. Any thoughts on Netflix's effort in gaming? Will they give up? No.
No, I have no thoughts.
No thoughts, and no, they won't give up. They are right now reimagining what they're going to do with video games. So, to be fair, their first foray did basically fail. And their first foray was like, we're going to work with mobile indie games, and we're going to buy an indie developer, and we're going to put those indie games exclusively on Netflix. That did not work.
No.
Now...
Because nobody knew it happened.
Right. And so they've basically cleared house from all the people that they hired for that, and they are right now rehiring all those positions with a higher target in mind. This is all stuff that Pachter has told me off the cuff. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but the bottom line is that no, they're not giving up. They are redesigning how they're going to handle games going forward. That's about the best I could say. Sleeping Turtle 3, thank you for Twitch Prime. That's awesome. He says, got me a Switch 2 this past weekend from restock at GameStop. Nice. So they're already restocking consoles. That's good to see. Also, I checked on eBay, and Switch 2 is basically down to retail price now. So it sounds like demand has been satisfied at this point, and you can just get them for price now. You don't have to overpay for them at all. And it's only been, 2 weeks? Not even? And they're already down to retail on eBay. So it looks like demand is starting to cool off for the Switch 2, and I understand why. I mean, you got one game to play, you played it, and now what are you going to do? You're going to wait for the game we're talking about next. That's what you're doing. What else we got here?
Unless you're in the tube station in London, which says that Metroid is already out.
Right. Somehow we missed that, which really sucks. I really want to play that game. Retro Modern Gamer, Shane, did you see the story this week? Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about that later on in the show. Retro Modern Gamer, Jade Raymond can go to Netflix and do another Pie in the Sky venture. Okay. It does feel like a lot of people are blaming Jade Raymond for what's happened ultimately, instead of the various No, just saying that, like, I mean, that comment right there, he's basically saying she's a hack. So it feels like a lot of people feel that way, that it's her that's the problem and not the various places that she's worked. No, Even though if you really go through the places that she worked, it was very clearly not her fault.
No.
Like,
I mean, I guess
Stadia was definitely not her fault.
I guess you could say she joins lost causes too easily, but, like, she's got paid. Everyone got paid. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
That happens a lot. I mean, the only real error is announcing this shit. Not that they really announced anything she was really working on.
Other than Fair Games.
Yeah,
but not at Stadia.
Not at Stadia.
No.
I mean, Stadia, I think just about anybody with a functioning brain in their head could see Stadia was doomed. But a chance to get Google money.
Yeah.
And maybe earn some stock options.
And what if it does happen, then it works?
Yeah, you never know.
And all of a sudden, you're the person who made it all happen with the software that your team's created.
Yeah,
so.
But I mean, I assume there had to be some kind of tangible monetary reward to hitch your wagon to the Phil Harrison train. So
I would not do that.
No, absolutely not.
I know him very well. Let's see. Someone else asked a question here. Is 'cause she's hot, which she clearly had in her contract, to not be the face of her studio? Okay. Mike Zilla 2. Speaking of Pactor, how often are the Pactor segments? So I don't know if you're asking about how often we publish episodes of Pactor Factor, but we do an episode on Friday, which is Pactor Factor Live, and that is recorded on Friday morning. And I just toss him the biggest topic of the week. He records it in the morning. We record it in the morning, and that episode is up like 5 hours later. You guys are getting his takes like that. And that's on Friday. And then on Monday, the pre-recorded ones we record at his house that look a lot better because they're not recorded on a webcam, those are every Monday. So you get 2 episodes of Pactor Factor every week. Anything else? Veritas, how many times does she need to not deliver until she is a hack?
Well, that's not what a hack is.
Yeah.
A hack is someone who just does the bare minimum workman-like job to, like, churn out whatever the bosses want. Like, a hack is that's what a hack in, like, movie directing is. Like, you just make whatever the studio said they wanted. It's good enough. That's it. What she's doing, I don't know what you'd call that. It's she just, stuff gets canceled.
It feels like a series of unfortunate events, honestly.
More or less. And that happens to some directors. You know, those directors. Dan Trachtenberg, my former D&D buddy, who went on to do 10 Cloverfield Lane. He didn't direct another theatrical thing until Prey, which was years and years and 7 years later almost. Yeah. And it wasn't because he was a hack. It wasn't because he wasn't working on stuff. It wasn't because he wasn't making good show. He was attached to the Why the Last Man show for a while. He was attached to a bunch of stuff. But just stuff doesn't work out. Things get, like there's, what was the, one of my friends who's a screenwriter says that he's sold something like 30 screenplays and 4 of them have actually gotten made. It's just things like triple or quadruple the number of movies like go into production as come out.
Right.
Lots of stuff dies.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And usually the way you just want to make sure that nobody really hears it. Usually you don't hear about it because it's just a bunch of nothing movie that nobody ever heard of and it never went anywhere. And there's just been a couple of phone calls and meetings and maybe they got a little production team together. But like if you get someone high profile whose name is known, sometimes you want to announce that and say, hey, we got this person. And that happens to Jade a lot. In part, I don't think so much because she's hot. I think she's in her 40s now. She's not like some kind of supermodel character.
Yeah, I don't really feel like her appearance has anything to do with anything.
I think it's because people know her name, and her name is easy to remember because she sounds like a video. Jade Raymond sounds like a fictional character.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
And so you remember that.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of what's happening there.
Well, Pactor actually brings up a really good point about this whole situation, and that is that they both screwed up. PlayStation screwed up by hiring Jade Raymond to create a game as a service. Why would you hire someone who's known as a prolific single-player game developer to create a game as a service? That was a mistake. It was also Jade's mistake to think that she could make a game like that. And look, it may have been a case, who knows? Maybe she signed and started that studio, and the idea was they were going to make a single-player game. And then PlayStation was like, hey, we actually have this new thing we're going to try to do.
I would not be surprised if her company just sort of got caught in the gas net.
Right. Yeah. The gas net. I like that. So, look, we don't know what happened. Let's refrain from calling somebody names when you don't know what you're talking about. Is that fair? So anyway, we'll see. But I think Pactor's stance is right. It's like, nobody had any business doing that. PlayStation shouldn't have hired her to do that. She shouldn't have taken the job.
It does seem like a weird fit.
Which makes you wonder if that's what the whole idea was to begin with.
I would not be surprised at all if it was, but again, once they've bought you, what can you do about it?
Well, they also paid for her to start a studio with all her friends.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you turn that down?
Well, also, everyone's like, oh, she left so early. Yeah, she left my bet is she left early to go get funding to start another studio so that when Sony shuts the Fair Game studio down after Fair Games
she can rehire
everybody to go work on something else.
To make a game that they wanted to make in the first place. Yeah, because all those other people probably didn't want to work on the service game either.
She knows this game. She knows how this all works. My guess is that this happened again, every single person who knows her personally, like I've met her a number of times, but I don't know her as a person. But like everyone I know who's worked with her, like they all said some variant of Jade knows when to pull the ripcord, and it's like that to me. That to me sounds like she's going to set something up for everyone to land on.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Not to hammer the parachuting thing to death there, but no, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what she's doing, because again, that ship is sailed. Like that if that thing's gonna come out and bomb, or it's gonna come out and they're gonna already pull the plug, or they're gonna pull the plug before it comes out because the beta wasn't like she's not gonna change the direction of that ship.
She also may just not want to be associated with the game because she knows where it's all headed.
Yeah,
and she's like, you know what? If I get out now, my name's not gonna be tied to this disaster.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's gonna. Who
that
knows?
Game may never come out.
Who knows who directed Concord?
Right.
Nobody. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, no one's going to be tainted by Concord because that company's gone, and everyone who worked on it.
But there wasn't a prominent developer working on Concord like Jade.
No.
Everybody knows who Jade. Well, not everybody.
Nobody knows who Jade Raymond.
Well, we all do.
We do.
My mom doesn't know who Jade Raymond is.
No, Jade Raymond is not a household
My
name.
mom doesn't know who Miyamoto is. Like, most people don't. Like, it's the world that we live in that everybody knows who she is. So, anyway, let's move on.
But we don't matter.
We really don't, in the grand scheme of things.
When it comes to sales that Sony's looking for. Anyway.
All right. It's time to get into GameFace 439 proper. We're going to kick things off with a discussion on Donkey Kong Bananza. It is the next big Switch exclusive. It comes out on July 17th, I believe. It's going to sell for $70. Up until this week, all we had was one trailer for the game that they put out when they basically announced the Switch 2. This week, they did a separate direct blowing out the game. Matt, you have not been a fan of this game since the day that you checked it out.
No.
Was there one thing that you watched in this that you liked?
I think it's interesting that they made Pauline a kid because it implies that they're kind of it's almost like a reimagined prequel to Donkey Kong.
I like that they're bringing it back full circle.
But I think that's not what's happening here. I think this is actually a prequel to Odyssey, because my guess is that at the end they're going to found New Donk City, and the implication for Mario Odyssey will be that she grew up to basically be the mayor of this city that they created together.
You think Mario's in this game?
No. I think this takes place long before Mario got to the Mushroom Kingdom.
Okay. It's interesting trying to think about it. Timeline.
The main thing is that I don't like Donkey Kong.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan either.
I don't like him as a character. I never liked him as a character. I liked him less when Donkey Kong Country became a thing. I like him less now because I think the redesign looks even worse. I didn't like Donkey Kong 64. I just don't like Donkey Kong very much.
Yeah.
I don't mind him.
That's a problem with a game called Donkey Kong.
Like, I don't mind him being around in like kind of ensemble things, but like
Mario Kart or whatever.
He has no appeal for me.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge Mario fan to begin with, and once you wander off into the extended Mario verse, you lose me real fast. Like the Yoshi standalone games, zero interest. Donkey Kong standalone games, zero interest. Really outside the core cat. If you're not talking about Mario, Luigi, or Peach, I do not give a shit.
So you care a lot about the characters. Like, I don't. It's like after I've played a game for like 5 hours, it's like, it's not about the character, it's about the mechanics. Like,
well, the mechanics of this don't look very
particularly in a
either.
Game. Really?
No.
Wow.
The thing that surprised me the most about this game is that it's pretty much an RPG in a lot of ways. Like, that's kind of what they're
skill points and
like that's it's as close as Nintendo's gonna get to making an action RPG.
Other than Zelda.
Guys. Well, Zelda's not an RPG; it's an adventure game.
I mean, it has RPG elements.
Not really.
More than this.
we'll see. Like, I mean, Zelda's closer to Metroid than an RPG. There's no hit point stuff. There's no, there's no. You're talking about finding items and unlocking things. I guess Breath of the Wild and Breath of the. I'm not going to give Tears of the Kingdom that credit. Tears of the Kingdom is mostly building shit, because that's also like, I keep reminding myself of Tears of the Kingdom with this game, where it's like, instead of designing an interesting level, we're just going to let you ruin everything, which is sort of what I get out of this, is what I see. This doesn't look that doesn't look interesting to me.
That you can destroy everything?
No. Like, you don't
think it's going to be fun to just destroy stuff?
Maybe the first time, but not fucking 4 hours into it. I make a fucking level, fuckers. Like,
I mean, I think they are.
But they're going to limit you in like what you can destroy, I guess. But it just reminds me of Tears of the Kingdom, where it's like...
But the design in this is genius. Do you understand how it's all designed? You're going down, and there's levels down into the world, and then eventually you get these elevators that you can go back up to like attack these other levels. But the whole game is designed unlike any game ever before. It's designed inward. There's never been a game designed like this before, ever. Sometimes
there's a reason something wasn't designed that way before.
Because the tech couldn't do it till now.
I guess, but like I don't care about any of this. It's so uninteresting.
I just wonder what would make you interested then in any game of this type.
Probably nothing. This is not, even if this wasn't Donkey Kong, if this was like a random like original character, I still wouldn't care. Like, this is not an interesting idea to me.
It is to me.
I'm not saying nobody else should be interested. Yeah. I'm just saying I would never buy this.
My hype for this game
price.
After this went through the stratosphere. It went from like meh to like, oh, I cannot wait to play this. Like, I think this is going to be a Game of the Year contender.
I am so annoyed I'm going to have to pay money for this fucking thing. I am so fucking pissed.
Why, though?
Because it looks really boring to me.
How can this be boring?
Because it's just a bunch of particle effects and terrain deformation. There's nothing interesting here to me. There's no.
But it has all the core platforming stuff every other platform.
But I'm still going to have to do all this
extra fun stuff.
That's not extra fun stuff. It's extra bullshit. I don't want to do it. I don't want. It's no different to me than like the building the random shit to short circuit the quote unquote puzzles in Tears of the Kingdom. It's the opposite of what I want this kind of a game to be.
Well, what do you want it to be?
A regular fucking video game, a regular fucking platformer, Odyssey 2, even if it's just Odyssey with Donkey Kong. Like that isn't interesting to me. Building a giant sandbar in the sky. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, it's so uninteresting to me. And it doesn't have to be interesting to me.
I don't know, man. This game looks like brilliant to me. Like,
this
literally,
game looks like
the Mario's team, like Opus.
It
is.
No.
It totally is, man.
Except it's stupid. Like, I don't want to play this. Like, I don't care.
I cannot believe you're saying this stuff. I really can't.
It looks shitty to me. I mean, not like physically. I mean, it looks gorgeous. Like, the visuals are amazing.
Everything about it is like next level 3D platformer. It is literally like the next level of a 3D platformer.
Well, then I'm done with 3D platformers, because this looks like shit.
I really think you might be.
I don't want to do anything in any of what's being shown here. This all looks terrible to me.
Wow.
It looks incredibly unfun and boring.
Wow.
And tedious.
I can't believe this. Look, everyone has an opinion, Matt, but damn, man. I can't believe you came away from watching this with these opinions. Wow.
It didn't change my mind at all.
I'm so
actually made it even worse.
I'm so excited for this now. This is like literally like top 3 like most anticipated games for me now. Like, it literally...
I am so fucking angry I'm going to have to pay $70 to play this stupid fucking game, and Nintendo doesn't take any refunds. I'm going to be fucking stuck with it. Like, it's so fucking annoying.
Well, look, you don't have to. I'll cover it myself. You don't have to play it if you don't want to. I don't want to play something that's going to make you mad.
I mean, it's not like there's a whole lot else to do in July, game-wise, but, like, between this and Death Stranding 2, it's just like, fuck you.
And keep in mind, I also do not like Donkey Kong. I agree with you. I do not think he's a great character. Like, to me, in my mind, he's always the bad guy. He started as the bad guy. And now it's weird to me that he's, like, friends with, like, all the people that he was trying to stop. And, like, it's weird to me that Pauline is, like, his
No, it's not
friend.
$80. This is $70.
It's
We've
$70.
been over this.
Yeah, it's not $80.
They only thought they could get away with that for Mario Kart.
Yeah. This is only $70, not $80.
They knew.
But look, I don't like Donkey Kong either. But it's
Donkey Kong's not the main problem with it. I mean, Donkey Kong doesn't help, but it's just also. Am I the only one who really hates the fur design on the new version of Donkey Kong? Like,
I think the fur shading in this is the weakest part of it graphically. I don't understand. Their fur shading was better in prior 3D platformers.
It was, but I mean the messy fur is clearly a character design choice on him specifically. Like even
like the disheveled look.
Even in the like the Mario Kart renders, he's got the his fur sticking out everywhere. Yeah, the shag. And like it's weird to me because like I really don't like that look for him. He looks like a different character to me. Which also, isn't Cranky Kong supposed to be the original Donkey Kong?
I think so.
Like he's
I think he is the dude that's in Donkey Kong.
Right,
yeah.
and he's technically Donkey Kong Jr. Like
Donkey
Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong,
the grandson or whatever.
Yeah, Donkey Kong in Donkey Kong Country is technically Donkey Kong Jr. grown up.
I think you're right.
And so what's Cranky Kong doing in this game? Like, I know. Don't ask Nintendo for timeline shit. Like, no, they don't care, and they probably shouldn't care. Like,
one thing I will say is I'm pretty sure the story in this is gonna suck.
Well, it's probably barely gonna be there. I mean, it's Nintendo.
Well, there is a crazy story. You're seeing kind of the setup right here. Like, basically, what happens is Donkey Kong is at Ingot Isle. Where he has the discovery of the century. He's just found all these crazy bananas or whatever. And then this storm shows up, and it sucks all the bananas down underground. It sucks Donkey Kong down underground. He finds this little town underground, and he finds this little rock there. And as it turns out, that rock is Pauline, which is something that they revealed in this finally. In the first trailer, they show the rock, but they didn't show Pauline. Pauline was the big reveal on this whole thing, pretty much.
Which is funny because it's like, duh.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, she's been separated from this thing since kind of the original Donkey Kong.
Yeah, but also, like, she's been back since Odyssey, and it's like, of course they're going to put her in there. She's shown up in Mario Kart World. Mm-hmm. She was also on that fucking South Korean poster for this.
Right.
So it's clearly they were going to go that way.
Yeah. So anyway, he discovers that is Pauline, and they set off on a quest to go to the center of the world because the lore is that if you get to the center of the world, you can have a wish granted. And
it's basically Nintendo's sad dad game.
It kind of is.
Except he's not sad. Yeah. And he's not her dad.
Yeah. And so if they get to the center of the world, she wants to be able to go back to the surface. He just wants more bananas, of course, because he's just Donkey Kong. And there's this whole other group of Kongs called the Void Company. They're this mining company. They're the ones that cause, like, the maelstrom that caused everybody to go underground and all the bananas to go underground or whatever. So they're kind of the enemies in this that you're going to be fighting. Pauline plays a huge role in this, though. She sings. Obviously, if you played Mario Odyssey, you know that she's very adept at that. But she can sing and transform Donkey Kong. She can transform him into a more powerful version of himself, or she can completely transform him into other things, like an ostrich that can fly, which is interesting because ostriches can never fly. And then this other crazy, like, really powerful monster that she can turn him into. And the other thing, too, is that probably the thing that turned me off the most from this is that how many things there are to collect. I was kind of hoping they might dial back on that because, if you remember, the biggest complaint most people had with Donkey Kong 64 was how many things there were to freaking collect.
It's still the most collectibles in any game ever.
And this one,
something
I think,
like 7,000,
right?
Or something like that.
I think this game might also be button up against that because
but you know what? As long as you don't have to change characters 5 times all the time, like the problem with Donkey Kong 64's collectibles is not just that there was a lot of collectibles, is that like you had 5 different characters and there was a set of collectibles for each of them, and you couldn't switch on the fly.
Yeah.
So you had to basically constantly shuttle back and forth and switch back and forth, and then you couldn't do this, and then you couldn't get over there to do this because that character had this ability, and like that, this at least doesn't have that problem. Like I don't think that's going to be all that much of an issue, because ideally maybe you're going to need to gather like the transformations or whatever over the course of the game, but you're going to find a thing and you're going to be able to get to the thing. If you're good enough to get to the thing, you're not going to need to go back to a random switch pad and change into an orangutan
before you can go back.
Like that was the thing that sank Donkey.
The funny part is they thought that was a cool feature.
They really did. They really thought
that was like on the box art.
Well, like if you talk, like if you see interviews with like the designers now, they basically say like, we thought people would go back and play through again as the other character,
not constantly swap.
But you know, people who play these games are completists. They want to get everything done as much as they can the first time, so everyone's switching back and forth. I mean, everybody all 5 of them had to collect 100 bananas on every level, and that's
I did it.
500 bananas per level. And there's only 100, so you gotta find. And like the other problem with that game is the draw distance. The collectibles didn't draw in as soon as the terrain, so you had to get closer to see what was up. It was just awful, just awful. I mean, this game obviously is going to be better than that.
I would hope so. It's been a lot of years since that one came out, but there are still tons of collectibles in this game. There are golden bananas called bananadium gems. They use the word banana for everything in this game, which is annoying. Those are used to upgrade your skills.
Is that I guess that would be bananadium? Bananadium?
Banandium. Yep, I think that's it.
Banananium, because it's supposed to be like an element, yeah.
And you use those to upgrade your skills, and you saw the skill sheet there just a minute ago in the B-roll. There aren't that many. It looked like there's like 15 or 20 of those that you can upgrade. You also get banana slice-shaped items called chips, and those are for buying items at the shop. Then there are skill points that increase DK's power and even allows him to learn new skills. And then like there's Banandium gems that you earn through challenges like timed battles, and there's these side-scrolling stages that they have stretched throughout the game, and obstacle courses that you can participate in, and that's what you get for those. What else? Then you take those to the chip exchange, and there's Banandium gold that you use in the stuff shop, and then there are fossils that you can collect that you take to a style shop, and you trade those for different fashions for Donkey Kong and Pauline, all of which come with extra benefits. So the outfits in this actually kind of buff their abilities as well. And you can also choose fur colors for DK. You saw a little bit earlier there. He was like blue or whatever. And there's tons of customization. You can customize Donkey Kong and Pauline with outfits, fur colors, all that other stuff. The levels are designed to be like a sandbox. At least that's what their goal was. The idea is to destroy terrain to create paths and find hidden items. Donkey Kong has a ton of abilities in this. One thing that he can do is he can slap his hands together, and it's like a form of sonar. And that's something that you can build up throughout the course of the game. So it keeps you from having to just constantly drilling down and looking for stuff. It basically will show you if there's things underneath the ground worth collecting so that you should dig down and grab them. So you're not just wasting your time just digging around trying to find stuff. I mean, he has tons of abilities like that, and pretty much all of them will increase over time if you assign them the skill points or whatever. He has a dive punch for a downward attack. The hand slap I already talked about. He can do this turf surfing thing where he tears up a piece of terrain and then jumps on it and then can surf it. It's kind of like the mount for the game in a lot of ways. So they found a clever way to do that. He can also tear off chunks of the ground to throw at enemies to use as a melee weapon, and he can ride on top of it and surf. You can also combine a lot of his abilities to increase their output and add to their potency. There's a co-op mode that allows the second player to control Pauline. Again, you can use her what they call Vocal Blast, who is this Donkey Kong. She can enhance him with a destructive ability and make him temporarily transform into, let's see, there is the Kong Bananaza, which gives him super strength. There's a Zebra Bananza that gives him speed. And then the Ostrich Bananza, which I talked about earlier, which lets him fly. He can also drop eggs that are bombs when he's in that bird form. The co-op mode, using the second Joy-Con. The second player in co-op controls Pauline. For her singing-based vocal blast, you use the mouse functionality of the Joy-Con too. Not something that I'm particularly excited to try, Matt. I don't want to use that mouse control for pretty much anything. I don't understand why they're forcing it into their games. It's like, we get it.
It's just a first wave thing.
I'm hoping this stuff disappears eventually, but it's really dumb. You sleep in a bed. You have like this little homestead that you go back to with like a TV and a couch and all this stuff, and you can sleep there to restore your health and your energy. And as I mentioned earlier, the whole game is designed to go down. You're constantly going down. So the opening cinematic, you're on the surface of the planet. All hell breaks loose. You fall down to the first layer. Every consecutive level goes deeper down. So you're trying to get to the core of the planet. That's your ultimate goal. And as I said, there are these elevators that you can use to go from level to level. So if you want to go back and replay a level to get a collectible that you missed that maybe you need in a future level, you can use the elevators, as they're called. They're eels. That will send you back to the other levels so you can go and play through them again. As far as Matt already touched on some of the people who are going to show up in this. Cranky Kong is there. His rhino companion Romby is there. Grumpy Kong. And then Poppy Kong is a part of the Void Co. Along with Void Kong. So those are the enemies. But they're also Kongs, which is a little strange, I thought. And then you can also share this game with someone on Switch 1. So if you have this game in a Switch 2, you can use the Switch Game Share so somebody can play co-op on a Switch 1, even if they don't own the game. So you can play a Switch 2 game on your Switch 1 without paying any money if you want to play co-op with a friend who owns the game and owns a Switch 2, which is pretty cool. And there's a photo mode. And then there's a mouse-based DK artist mode, which look really stupid, where you just like are sculpting things and like adding stuff. It's for kids or whatever.
It just feels like the usual like Nintendo. We got a new feature on the new console. You got to put it in the game somehow, and they're like,
I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think
it's like on the first wave of DS games, all of the stupid touchscreen, like with the Castlevania thing, you had to draw the runes and shit like that.
Yeah.
And by the second wave, everyone's just making normal games again. It's like,
that'll probably happen with a lot of this stuff too. I think. Like the basketball game that's made for the mouse controls, they just announced this morning that that's coming out, I think like August 21st or something. And sadly, that looks like Switch 2's quote-unquote big game for August. So we may start getting to that place where...
I mean, after this, it's basically the Gobi Desert until Metroid.
Yeah, you're right. After this game, it is... And we don't know yet. So we've got July. We've got August. Does that mean Metroid Prime in September?
Maybe.
Probably.
I mean, September, October has always been my assumption for Metroid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. So,
and then we got Pokemon in there somewhere.
That's right. Z to A. That's probably, I'm guessing, December for that. Or maybe November.
I think probably, if Metroid isn't October, Pokemon will be October, I think.
Probably. So they basically have like one big game every month here until the end of the year. Although if you count that basketball game, what's that called? Like Dive and Drive or Drive and Dive or something like that? That basketball thing with the mouse controls?
I don't
something
remember.
Like that. But if you count that as one of the big games, then they don't have enough games to get you to the end of the year. And then what happens after that? What happens in 2026? I mean, there's no other Switch 2 games announced.
Nope.
I mean, seriously.
But that's pretty common with Nintendo. Like, we never know what their next 6 months is going to look like.
They'll do a direct in January or something, and next thing you know, there's 3 games coming in the next 6 months.
Pokemon is October, so I guess Metroid almost got to be September then.
Yeah, or November.
But I don't know. That's too close.
I mean, the fact that ad was in
the fact that ad is that soon and saying out now, it feels like that's going to be pretty soon. September is probably likely, and like I feel like, I mean, Metroid is probably my favorite Nintendo franchise, but it's not their best seller. It's probably gonna get buried under the Call of Duties of the world in November. So I think September is probably your window for that.
Well, it looks like Switch 2 is not gonna have Call of Duty this year, so that is a nice window there. For Metroid.
But people have more than one console, so
Activision did promise that it was coming back to Switch. I don't know what's going on there.
One day.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't announce anything for Black Ops 7, so I don't know what's going on there, but looks like. We're not getting Call of Duty this year for Switch 2, which does leave an opening for a shooter like Metroid. So, because you're right.
Who has time for Call of Duty when, what is that? Tomodachi Life is coming out. Maybe that's their November game.
That's not going to get it done. Even though that game is far more popular than I thought
That game's going to do well.
I was surprised how many people cared about that. Because there hasn't been one in like a decade or something like that. So it seems like people are pretty excited for it. But you're right. That'll probably be January, something like that. But that's like a dual game. That's also coming for Switch 1, I believe. So it's not even a Switch 2 exclusive. So anyway, there you go. That's the next big exclusive for Switch 2, Donkey Kong Bananza, coming out in just a few weeks on the 17th of July for $70. It is a Switch 2 exclusive. However, you can play co-op with somebody who has a Switch 1. You just have to zap it to them, basically, with Nintendo's Wii U technology. I think that's what it's using there. I think that's the one thing that they've kept from the Wii U. Although, I mean, the tablet thing kind of stuck. They figured out a better way to do it.
There's a direct evolutionary line there.
Yeah. I think Wii U was like, they're a little ahead. They're out over their skis on that one. I think they're like, yeah, we're ready for this, and they just weren't.
Yeah, they didn't quite commit to what it was going to be.
The tech wasn't ready, I don't think either, really.
I think it took the Wii U for them to realize that their Trojan horse was not the motion controls; it was the portability.
Yeah, for sure. The hybrid version of consoles and handhelds. Yep. So there you go. That is Donkey Kong Bananza. I'm going to be happy I don't have to say that ever again. We're just about to talk about the Blood of Dawnwalker, but before we do that, here's a word from our sponsor, LS Cream. LS Cream is a fine cream liqueur created by fellow gamer and sifter Stevens Charles. It's inspired by an ancestral recipe from Haiti called Crémasse, and a double gold winner for its original taste at the New York Wine and Spirit International Competition. LS Cream can be enjoyed on the rocks or as a mixer for drinks with its rich blend of fresh cream and neutral grain spirits with notes of coconut, vanilla, cinnamon, and nutmeg. It's great in coffee or to make espresso martinis.
To learn more, discover amazing drink recipes, or to track down your own bottle using a handy store locator, head to creamls.com/sifted. That's creamls.com/sifted.
That's right, people. LS Cream is one of the most versatile liquors I have ever drank in my life. I remember when I first started drinking back when I was 21. Not really. When I was in my teens and I started drinking, we would always get like schnapps and stuff like that to drink, and like we mix it with like we had made these things called like leprechauns, where we get like this blue colored schnapps and mix it with orange juice, and it would turn it green.
Okay.
But that's how we couldn't drink. You know, we couldn't handle like real liquor, and so we always drank like liqueur basically, which is what LS Cream is. But LS Cream is delicious. Like, we were drinking that stuff just because we couldn't handle the real stuff. You're going to drink LS Cream because you can handle the good stuff, and it mixes great with the good stuff. So go to creamls.com/sifted, get yourself a bottle. You can find a store locator there where you can get it locally, or there's links there where you can get it shipped to your doorstep. Get yourself some LS Cream. Mix it up with literally anything. And I know you'll come back and tell me, Shane, you were right. I love LS Cream. Go to creamls.com/sifted. And actually, I feel a little bad. We didn't toss it to you guys like we usually do after we finish a topic. So I'm going to come back to you guys and see if you're saying anything about Donkey Kong here. Squishy Muffin says it's not Wii U tech. I read an interview where they said it was Wii U tech. That's why I said it. I didn't just come up with that. That was something that Nintendo said.
Which maybe explains why it's such not amazing looking.
Also, I think our PC just crashed, Matt.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, I can't do anything. The mouse just froze. Oh,
there
it woke
goes.
up. There's something going on. I don't know what's happening here. I wonder if maybe the battery's dying in this mouse finally. I've had spare batteries for this mouse sitting here for years, waiting for the batteries to die in case it would happen mid-show. I've had this new set of batteries sitting here for years.
I will say that my phone won't even connect to the Wi-Fi.
Really?
I think the double stream is pushing the bandwidth to the limit.
Well, it's the upload speed. It's not download. It's all upload.
I said the double stream.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all upload.
Right.
Stream.
But like it can still affect how everything works.
Well, it'll affect anything that you're trying to upload. So if you're trying to send anything, it'll be slow for sure. But it shouldn't affect download.
Well, I mean, it's affecting actual like back and forth. I mean, there's uploading happening in chat because you have to go back and forth.
Right.
So if that connection isn't solid, the chat itself may not work. It's not the mouse. It's the internet.
Let me replace the batteries in this just to be sure. I've prepared for this moment for years now. I think it goes that way. It goes this way? Yep. Well, these are brand new batteries. If this doesn't work, then it's definitely something else. It was the mouse batteries. Look at that. That's great. All right. My plan finally came together years later. Batteries have been sitting there for years. That is hilarious. Okay, now we're back in the groove here. Ruthina says, wait, you can play this on Switch 1. I thought it couldn't run it. It can't. It's just streaming the video to the Switch 1.
It's like a PlayStation Portal thing.
Yeah, the hardware isn't doing anything. It's just receiving a video signal that you can interact with. That's how they do it.
Which would give you an idea of how integral the Pauline gameplay is.
Yeah.
You're literally just shooting words at stuff.
Pretty much, yeah. But in the single player game, like you're not controlling her. You just say, hey, sing the song so I can transform or whatever. And then you're right. Like playing as her, probably not going to be all that fun.
I mean, it's like Mario Odyssey. It's like, well,
right.
It gives the second player something to do.
So they don't have to just sit and watch, basically. Yeah. Erebus says, how can you be surprised at this content drought? It's been clear for months there was basically nothing between Donkey Kong and Pokemon. The reason I'm surprised is because Nintendo hasn't put out anything of note as far as new games are concerned for the last 2 years. It's been milking remasters and remakes for 2 years. So I just assumed that those teams were making new games and that when the Switch 2 got here, there'd be a deluge of new games for us to play. That has turned out to not be the case. That's why I'm surprised. What has Nintendo been doing? What has it been doing? Their software teams aren't working on hardware. I don't know what the hell. It's like it's been asleep at the wheel for the last 2 years. Like, I don't get it.
Everything's next year, I guess.
Yeah. And Vincent reminds us, Pokemon is confirmed October. Vincent says, you don't have to use the mouse for co-op. Obviously, it won't work on the Switch 1 via game share. Yeah, I think on the Switch 1, you're just going to just jam that button of her just sending out the signals or whatever. I think that's all you're going to do. Khalib Tulai says, "Uh-oh, does that mean Donkey Kong is digging underground to build a banandium enrichment facility for a banana bomb?"
Bananadium.
That's pretty good, Khalib Tulai. And apparently all the banandium is still there. If it's up to us to try to stop it, it's all still there. Retro Modern Gamer says, "Isn't it strange we don't know what Nintendo dev team is making this? It's the Mario team."
Yeah,
I went on the site.
I
went on the site and changed it. I updated it and listed it's the Mario Odyssey.
It's very obvious.
I mean, just look at the graphics. Like the gems are ripped straight out of Mario Odyssey. Yeah, it's definitely the Mario Odyssey team.
It's a goddamn shame.
Which means if this doesn't,
the next Mario game is
a long ways away.
Unless
this is the Mario game, and at some point he shows up, which I agree, it's like a 5% chance or whatever. But
it's a 0% chance. It's not.
It would be one of the all-time things, though, if you got halfway through this game and then it becomes like the next Mario game.
Yeah, and that's why it's not that. Because you don't design all this digging bullshit and then throw it away halfway through for regular platforms.
Unless Mario can do it, too.
Mario can't do that.
Mario
can do that.
Yeah.
Mario can't do that.
Khalid Twias, isn't Donkey Kong still a bad guy in Donkey Kong Country? He stole everyone's bananas.
I mean, Donkey Kong is always kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Like even if he's not like an actual bad guy, he is a greedy asshole. So, kind of.
Yeah. What else we got in here?
It's a miracle he still gets invited to the
to Mario Kart,
the Mushroom Kingdom karting and sporting events.
Yeah. All right. Well,
but if Bowser gets an invite, you can't really not invite Donkey Kong, can you?
Yeah. Retro Modern Gamer, Shane floating an MGS2 character switcheroo. Yeah, I mean, that is kind of what I'm floating. And that is probably the only time it's ever been done. Yeah. Ashes. I mean,
they kind of did that in Last of Us 2.
Yeah, actually, you're right.
I mean, the difference in gameplay wasn't as
didn't change very much, but yeah. But they did kind of do the switcheroo for sure. Ashes and Yarglass says the rumor is that the Mario team is split into two, and this is one of the games. The 3D Mario is separately in development. Look, I don't think they haven't started at all on the next Mario. Mm-hmm. I guarantee there's a team of 50 people that are specking it all out and doing level design and all that stuff. But it's still going to be a while until that, if it indeed is a completely separate game, it's going to be a while till we get it. Will Diddy ever be in a Kong game again? That was a lot of people. What people were wondering. They're like, "What the heck's up with Diddy, man? Like, why?"
I mean, he's in this.
Is he?
I saw him on the Rhino.
Was he?
Isn't that him with the hat?
I didn't think so.
On that Rhino, it's him. I thought it was him and Dixie. I thought it was him and Dixie riding the Rhino in front of you in that footage.
I didn't think it was.
Well, pull it up.
I don't think I'd be able to find it.
Like, there's a shot of like the Rhino riding in front of you, and I thought that was Diddy and Dixie riding it.
Okay. Maybe so. Diddy is busy, people are saying. P. Diddy controversy in Esquire. Which I think that may be coming down here the next day or so. He has no defense. He's not going to call a single witness in his defense.
Well,
good luck, buddy.
Who would you call?
Who are
you going to call?
Nobody, if you're Diddy. That's for sure. That trial's been awful. It's hard to believe that there are people out there like that.
Yeah, Diddy Kong, not P. Diddy. Where's Diddy? Why isn't he in the Donkey Kong game? It's like, okay. Like,
all right, well, there you go.
You're going to dig a hole that deep, I guess you might as well pee in it, right?
Oh, man. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk next about The Blood of Dawnwalker. It is a game from a bunch of former CD Projekt Red developers who worked on The Witcher, and they just put out a big 21-minute gameplay developer walkthrough. They narrate it and walk you through everything that they're showing you. Obviously, you're not going to hear that here. You're going to have to listen to me talk about it. But they really blew this game out. This game is coming in 2026 to PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series. And they really kind of laid it bare in this 21 minutes because they go beyond what is actually shown in the footage. The narrator explains a lot of stuff while there's just like walk and talk stuff happening in the game. It isn't actually shown in the footage. But it is an open world action RPG. Featuring monster hunting, because it still is a lot like The Witcher. Like, you still go out and, like, fight, you have to find these monsters and kill them. And there's the morally gray, consequential choices that you have to make. It is coming from former Witcher developers who are very well versed in that. The other thing I'm going to say, Matt, is this looks like it's running on the Witcher engine.
I'm pretty sure that's impossible.
I thought so too.
Because the Red engine is proprietary.
Right. And I'm wondering, do you think these guys, like, stole the code?
No.
They got this thing up and running pretty damn quick, man. Look at MindsEye.
What was pretty damn quick?
Well, I mean, they left, like, 18 months ago, and here it is.
I mean, I think, isn't this just Unreal?
I don't know, actually. I don't know what engine they're using. But think about MindsEye.
Even CD Projekt isn't using Red anymore. So.
Yeah, they have they use Unreal now.
Yeah, they switched to Unreal.
And that's what I think. I'm wondering if they took the old engine.
No, absolutely not. I think they just
It looks a lot like it.
That's not what engines are, though. Like this is just. I would bet anything this is just Unreal. Like, because they know how to make Unreal do what they wanted to do. Probably because they were already doing that for The Witcher 4 before they left.
Maybe.
This may just be this. It would be a lot. It's a lot simpler to explain this as they were working on The Witcher 4. They know how to get the Unreal Engine 5 to work the way they want it to make a Witcher game, and they just founded their own company and just took Unreal Engine 5 and was like, okay, let's just do that. That fits a lot better than them stealing the Red engine that nobody wants to use anymore because it's so archaic.
Well, unless you're an indie studio of 30 people.
Right, but then you can just use Unreal. Like
Khalid Twilight does say it is Unreal Engine 5, so we can put that to rest. But it does look like maybe they took an artist from the Witcher team, because I mean, this could be a Witcher game. It doesn't look as good as The Witcher 4, obviously, but if somebody showed this to me and said it's a Witcher game, I'd be like, okay.
Well, part of that is because of the same interface. Like the life bar and the stamina and the experience are the same. I mean, these are all placeholder probably, but like everything's... The only thing that's really super different is the time limit, which isn't my favorite thing in the world, but here we are.
We'll get to that. This game is set in a place called Vale Sangora, I'm sorry. And their goal was to offer players the freedom to traverse its swamps, its towering mountains, abandoned ruins, and its shadowy caves, however they want. There's one major city in the region. It's called Savartrau, and that is the city where it seems like is kind of the stronghold of the vampires. So you play as Cohen. He is a Dawnwalker, basically a vampire who can survive the sunlight. That's not a new concept. There's been movies and comics and everything else that's featured characters like that.
Blade is
probably the one that most people know.
Well, they call him the Daywalker, but that's copyrighted. So.
Yep. And he's placed in a moral quandary because he is bitten by a vampire, and instead of turning into a full-fledged vampire, he is this half-and-half guy who can walk in the daylight.
Can't do anything right.
So the problem for him, though, is that the vampires have taken his family, and so it puts him in a bind where he needs to give in to the impulses of being a vampire so he can become powerful enough to save his family, but he fears if he does that, he may go too far to the point where he doesn't care about his family at all, and they just look like cattle to him. So this is the moral quandary that you have while you're playing this game. And they have said that you can go total vampire if you want to and have no predilection or interaction with humans and just let your family die if you want to. You really have the choice to play it and do whatever you want. Much like Zelda, one of the cool things about this game is in the main city, there's a castle. And the main bad guy in this game is called Brancis. And from the beginning of the game, he is in that castle and you can go fight him. If you probably can't beat him, you have to be really, really good to beat him at the beginning, but it is like the latest Zeldas where he's there. Whenever you feel like you're ready and you've built your character up enough, you feel confident, you can go in there and try to take him down. Now,
but the first week, somebody's going to beat him naked.
Probably. So, without any weapons. They'll just slap him to death or something. But again, like Zelda, that is something that you can do in this game that most other games are not doing. The game uses what the studio is calling a narrative sandbox design that doesn't really distinguish between main quests and side stories. How do you feel about that?
I feel like that's bullshit.
You've heard it before.
Yeah.
And I feel that way too. I feel like every developer says that because they want you to think their side quests are just as interesting as their main quests.
And they are. Like, I mean, Witcher 3's were.
Mm-hmm. Some of the side quests were better than the main quests in that game, for sure.
But, come on.
Well, one of the cool things about it, though, is depending on whether you tackle the quest as a human or a vampire, and before or after you ally with certain characters, you will have different options for completing the quests. So everything changes depending on the decisions that you make, like big time in this game. Also, if you enter towns and you've already started messing with the vampires, you're not welcome in the towns. So you have to take every aggression against the vampires. You have to really measure it and make sure it's worth it, because it will impede your ability to make progress throughout the game pretty much until the end of the game. So you have to be really picky and choose your points where you want to piss off the vampires, basically, because once they're after you, it changes the game and it makes it much more difficult. There's the other thing, too, about it is that the locations change at day or night. So the castle that I was talking about earlier, if you try to go in there at night, you can't get in. They'll kill you. But in the daytime, it's open for, like, tourists and whatever. So you can walk in there and, like, scope out the castle and kind of make your plan if you want to without being detected. But if you try to go in there at night, then it's completely different. The whole game is that way. The towns are that way. All the hamlets that you go to, things change at night. That's not revolutionary. There's a lot of games that do that, but this is another one that does.
Yeah, the real question is, like, can you do that and not be really annoying?
Right. No, you're right.
Because that's really what that ends up being.
No, you're right. Speaking of another thing that could be annoying, and you mentioned it earlier, is the time element. Time is really important in this game. You have a set amount of time to rescue your family. Look up there in the top right. It says right there, rescue your family, 22 days left. So there's that constant stress over your head while you play this game. I got 22 days left. 22 days left. But even within the days, there are other time requirements that kind of set this game apart. So it works a little bit like Persona. Time passes and you only have so much time to do stuff, but it doesn't always pass. There are certain moments that you get into the game where it tells you, if you do this, time is going to move forward. Time is kind of like a commodity in this that you spend. And you know, like just like Persona, you knew certain events that you would do were going to move the day forward, and you weren't going to get that time back. That's how it works in this game as well. And there are even dialogue choices in the dialogue trees, and you'll see a little hourglass icon next to an option. And you know if you select that dialogue option, that is going to move the time forward, and you're going to lose time for that day. So it's something that you have to pay attention to, but it's not like it's an always ticking clock, so you're like constantly freaking out. Like, I need to kill this enemy really fast so that blah, blah, blah. Like, you don't lose any time when you're out adventuring and doing stuff like that. You have to physically choose to burn the time before you actually lose the time. It still could be annoying, though. Let's just be honest. How do you feel about it now that you maybe know a little bit more? Does it sound a little bit better to you?
I mean, my guess is that basically there's a lot of game after that time limit is up. I don't think that's the end of the game.
Probably not.
It sounds like probably more of an Act 1 thing. Maybe just to keep you on track, because I certainly know that the main quest got neglected for a number of dozens of hours in Witcher 3 at times.
It really did.
Had things to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm obviously in on this because it's the Witcher guys.
Yeah.
It looks interesting. It looks like almost a spiritual successor to Witcher 3. Sooner than Witcher 4.
Yeah, oddly enough.
But we'll see. I mean, vampire stuff is kind of sketchy sometimes because, like, you know, you see that they say, oh, you got to be a human or a vampire. It's like usually one of the other is better. Or like you got to wonder how cartoony they're going to make it in terms of the choices. Like, is it going to be like a KOTOR thing where it's like you're just like a dick? Like, you know, like being evil. Like, are they going to go full bore? And I mean, they might. They're Polish. Those guys are hardcore about that shit. Like, but if you're going to go the vampire route, you better become some kind of inhuman monster. Like I think they need to lean real hard into the idea that human or inhuman is sort of the thing here.
The game is split up that way.
It does feel like they're going for that, but again, you don't know until you get your hands on it whether that's just lip service PR or whether they actually did it. If there's
they show it in this. They've done it already.
But like it's one thing to show it in a demo. It's one thing to sustain it through a whole 60-hour game.
Yeah, the game is clearly defined between day and night, meaning human versus vampire. When Cohen transforms into a vampire at night, it exposes him for who he is, because his eyes change, and so people on the street can tell that he's a vampire at night. They can't during the day. So that impacts a bunch of stuff on how you interact with people. Now you have to sneak into places you didn't have to sneak into before. But it also gives him a big list of new abilities, traversal abilities, combat abilities. He has lethal vampiric claws. He can use those to slide down walls. He has this thing called a shadow step that allows him to basically teleport across rooftops. So if you're up on the rooftops, you can just put the cursor onto another rooftop and bamf, you just disappear and reappear there. His health is also a hunger meter when he's a vampire. And every night when you start as a vampire, you start out thirsty, hungry. And you have to decide who you want to feed on. You can decide to feed on humans. You can decide to feed on animals. And with humans, you can decide to just take a little bit of blood and just render them unconscious. Or you can choose to drain them completely and kill them. If you don't want to drink from humans at all, you can find animals and you can drink from them. But if you don't drink, if you decide, I don't want to drink any blood, then you go into this like crazy state where you cannot control the character, and he could kill people randomly, including characters that are important to the plot that would have ramifications later on down the road because that character's not there. So feeding in this game is a big deal, and eventually you'll see some B-roll that shows there's like a meter that pops up to show you how much blood the victim has left. So you can control it and make sure that you're not drinking too much, you're not killing them if you don't want to. But you have flexibility in being a vampire, I guess is what I'm getting at here. And then by day, he can wield both a sword and use magical runes in the form of bloody scars that are etched on his skin. Did you notice the gameplay, how it has like directional fighting? So when you attack or you block, you choose up, down, left, or right. And this is what people have been complaining about mostly with this game from what they've shown so far. People are not happy about that at all. You have to do the same thing with blocking. You have to figure out when the enemy's coming at you, if they're going to swipe from the side, top, or try to stab you. And your deflections and your parries need to coincide with the way the enemy's attacking. A little bit like Blades of Fire, actually.
It actually reminds me more of Kingdom Come Deliverance.
That's true as well.
Which is not a compliment.
I agree. Look, it makes me nervous. It's making other people nervous, too. That is the one thing from this demo that people have come out and said, I don't know if I'm so into that. It does still look very fast and active, though, which is cool. A lot of times, like, I don't know, in Kingdom Come, it felt like it was just like this very deliberate, almost clumsy thing. It looks a little more quick and responsive in this, but we'll see. You know, it's one of those things where you really have to have your hands on the controller to know how it feels. But anyway, he can also wield his sword as a vampire if you want to, but he also has those claws that he can fight with, so you can choose as a vampire, whereas in the daytime, you pretty much can only use the sword. But that directional sword play is a sticking point for a lot of people. We'll see if they can actually handle that or not. But they say, yeah, you need to study enemy movements, you need to block precisely, and then time your counterattacks. Because they're calling the combat in this a strategic and tactical combat system. They don't want it to be like an action-based system, even though it looks like it's action-y. But anyway, so in addition to your basic attacks...
That's a good way to make sure you don't sell Witcher 3 numbers.
Pretty much, yeah. In addition to your basic attacks and your parries, Cohen can also use special abilities that consume health. There's one called Burning Blood, and that inflicts damage over time. You're basically like putting a curse on an enemy and their health just slowly drains. And they show an example of this where you use like this item and you set them up with like this powder that you throw in their face, and then you wait like a minute and then you use this item and it basically just instantly kills them. So you can like set enemies up and then finish them off with some of the items that are in the game. There's another attack called an artery attack that decapitates enemies immediately. You saw that earlier in the B-roll. It decapitated an enemy's head, but you can chop off limbs too. So you can take off their arms, their legs, and their head, which sounds like it could be pretty cool. And then when you select abilities during combat, the game pauses like Dragon Age. So when you go to do those special abilities, a menu pops up, everything freezes and goes into slow motion. You select it from a menu, and then the ability is executed in real time. What else? You have to eat food to restore health in this game. So it's another one of those games where you have to make sure you're constantly collecting food, also like Kingdom Come Deliverance. The UI and the HUD, as you mentioned, are basically ripped straight from The Witcher, so that should be really easy for people to understand. They've already played a huge game with pretty much the same exact system. Skill trees, the way the skill trees work, there's one skill tree for being human, there's one for being vampire, and then there's one skill tree that's shared between both of those entities. And then there's also an active abilities tab where you can add new techniques to both the vampire and the human forms of Cohen. As far as his equipment is concerned, he has a coat, a gauntlet, pants, boots. He has 2 rings, an amulet, and a weapon. So those are all the things that you're constantly going to be upgrading, collecting. There's 11 different types of collectibles throughout the game as far as like all the different armors and items and potions and stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all the information that they gave out in this 20-minute demo. Matt, how excited are you for this game?
All right. Like, I'm just going to kind of wait until I play it.
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting. Like, I like what they're after, but a lot of people have tried to do the Witcher lightning in a bottle thing. And
yeah.
Including Cyberpunk, and not really gotten there.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. That combat system doesn't sound like a very good idea.
I agree. Here's another thing that you can do in the game. You can go to places, and he's actually in the castle right now, but you can go there and scope out places, so there'll be little icons that pop up, and you're basically investigating as you're an investigative vampire. I don't know if that adds up.
It just feels like a lot to juggle for a first strike out of the CD Projekt Red corral. You know, like it's a very ambitious game. I guess I appreciate that, but like. I don't know. I mean, Vampire tried to do a lot of the same things. The Don't Nod game tried to do a lot of the same things with that, and that turned out about fine.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
I don't know. Like, it's so easy to make one path better than the other, or make one feel like a waste of time, or make,
or one less fun than the other.
Or just like the nighttime stuff gets annoying and you want to get back to the daytime because that's more like The Witcher. Or like maybe the daytime stuff feels like reheated Witcher nonsense, and like the nighttime stuff is the interesting stuff. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's a big ask to make all these different systems fun and work together properly and deliver on like kind of what they're attempting to do here. And color me a little skeptical on that. Like, again, cool idea. We'll see.
Yeah, a lot of the comments online are jank. People are saying that watching this, they can see the Euro jank already. I didn't really see it as much.
I mean, I see it, but it's also like it's pre-beta stuff. Like, you can't super. But again, is this going to be super different when it comes? Probably not. Like,
it's coming next year.
This feels pretty. This other
feels
than
like this is it.
Feels like there's tweaks, but this feels pretty. This part feels pretty finished.
Yeah,
like.
There's a boss fight. They don't actually show. Well, they show the boss fight for like a minute. You die very quickly. They don't show you beating this boss. But a lot of people were saying this boss fight looks janky, and this was one of the things that was one of their big points that they made when they were. I think I read a Reddit thread about the game. That's a lot of people complain about this boss fight. They're like, everything seemed cool until the thing at the end. So we'll see. It is called The Blood of Dawnwalker. It's coming to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X in 2026. We don't have a hard release date other than that. It is coming from a new team. I wouldn't count on it coming early next year. My guess is it'll probably be like mid to late year, maybe a Q4 game. I hope that they take their time, because to your point, Matt, first-time team like this,
Yeah, I mean obviously they're. I mean, they're obviously not newbies or anything, but it's like, again, it's different when you're the one organizing everything and creating the systems.
Yeah, you never seen him fight with his vampire claws, but the system's the same for the claws and the sword. You're still attacking up, down, left, or right, blocking up, down, or left, or right.
Yeah, people like rag on the combat in The Witcher 3, but like one of the reasons that game sold as well as it did is the combat is very easy to understand.
Casual,
it just functions. And this is, I guarantee you that if that's how this works, like, I can't hand this to one of my friends who just like The Witcher 3 as a casual, because they're not going to be able to figure out the combat.
I don't think the time element helps with that either.
No.
This is not going to be a game for noobs.
I mean, if you're choosing when the time moves forward, like, that probably mostly solves that problem. But it's not... My main thing with it is I just don't think it's a compelling game mechanic, and I don't think time limits ever are a compelling game mechanic.
Yeah.
I think they are a limitation that just takes away more than anything. Like a ticking clock in a story is like a good tension ratcheter. In a video game, it's just fucking irritating.
I didn't mind how they do it. I don't mind how they do it in Persona, though. If they really stick to that, I'll be okay with it.
Well, because Persona's under your control for the most part.
I think this one is too, though.
Yeah, but it also, like, if it dominates your decision making rather than like choosing to do what you want to do right now, you're choosing because, I don't want to move the time forward yet. That's an artificial choice that has no relation or no comparison to actual reality. Yeah, and so that's an immersion breaker. So either you,
which is different for a game like this than Persona,
right? And either your time limit is completely artificial and rings hollow like that, or it's a real-time thing that's ticking down, and you're kind of ruining the... I mean, half this video is them walking slowly through all the environments and looking around everything. Well, if your time's ticking down real-time, you can't do that. So obviously, you want to give it
down,
right? But I'm trying to make a comparison there between. There's no correct answer for this, because either choice of how to do the time limit breaks something.
Yeah.
So the actual correct answer is get rid of the fucking time limit.
Which
everyone will do with a mod on PC anyway, so it doesn't even fucking matter.
You're right. My guess is that they want to try to separate this from The Witcher. And so they feel like they need a significant design tweak.
One thing you can do is add a really annoying thing. So there you go. Well done. You're definitely not The Witcher anymore.
That's funny.
Because you're pissing me off.
I'm really excited for this game. I'll fully admit it. I feel like I've been waiting my whole life for a really good vampire game. This may not be it, but I'm going to keep trying them as they come out.
I would argue that vampire games are never going to be that great.
It's kind of like Superman, isn't it? They're so powerful that it's like, how do you balance that?
Well, sort of, but also like the problem with vampires is that they are kind of traditionally folklore based, and the folklore is messy and nonsensical because they're from so many different things, and we've changed through the movies and they changed through that. It's like how I don't give Max Landis credit for much, but he does have a good anecdote about talking to his father, John Landis, who directed, obviously all those horror movies, and he asked Max Landis one time, how do you kill a vampire? And Max Landis said, well, you cut their head off, you stab them with a stake in the heart, you use garlic, and John Landis said, no, you kill a vampire however the fuck you want because they don't fucking exist. And
that's funny.
But the problem with that, and it's like, yeah, I mean, he's right, obviously, but like the problem with that is like
you have to have rules, right?
Everybody has. Well, that's the problem. Is everybody has their own rules of how vampires work because there are people who now think vampires should work the way they work in Twilight, a book written by a Mormon woman who knew nothing about vampires, and that's why they don't fucking make any sense. Or they should work the way they work in Vampire the Masquerade, which is a little different from your Dracula Hammer horror vampire. Or even those movies, the Christopher Lee vampire movies, could never quite decide whether water was lethal to them or not. It's like there's all these different rules. So like, what kind is and even then, like I think, just watching that thing at the end there, where suddenly all the vampires have glowing red magic hands. It's fucking stupid. Like it's they're like a vampire is a walking corpse.
It really is.
It's an immortal walking corpse that feeds on blood to survive. And when you
that's the core of.
And when you turn them into Power Rangers, it kind of looks stupid to me. I'm sorry. It just doesn't really work anymore. I'm just gonna have to kind of ignore that they're vampires and pretend they're demons or something.
Well, it feels kind of silly that they're using this trope. Because The Witcher, the game that they're coming from, they created this new thing that had not been done before. That is this entity that, like, now is a Witcher, like this monster that's a part of pop culture.
Yeah, it almost feels like you have to retreat to vampire because it's kind of the closest thing to a Witcher you can do without being accused of, like, copyright violation.
We're not having to, like...
It's like, no, it's just a vampire. Everybody owns vampires. It's fun. If you created your own equivalent, you'd either be... because what are Witchers are basically Monster Hunter Jedis,
pretty
right?
Much,
like I mean, you're basically a Jedi in that. Give him a lightsaber, and you're gonna have a hard time telling the you got the Force push. He's got
he's got all of it.
So if you create your own sort of little Witcher Jedi Kai Lord thing in this game, you're kind of like, okay, you're just doing your own. Which is actually, even BioWare has that problem where like it's like even early on in like Dragon Age, you're like, okay, so a Grey Warden is a Jedi. I got it. Or like, okay, an N7, like
they're not gonna say it.
They're a Jedi. They're a space opera Jedi in this world.
This world,
you basically have to be a special magic person of this universe.
Yeah.
And so, I think making him a vampire was sort of an attempt to avoid that feeling of like, we made our own Jedi thing that all these games that kind of run into. But it ends up just feeling a little, I don't know, a little generic almost.
Yeah.
Which is like, I mean, it looks cool, but like there's a moment where you're like, right, it's just a bunch of vampires. Like it feels like there's nothing to discover there, even though they are obviously going to operate by their own rules.
Yeah.
But it's just like, okay, a bunch of evil guys in a circle chanting about something, and now
I did feel like the debut trailer though did a pretty good job of setting the vampires up in this to be like terrifying.
Yeah,
like really badass, like people that you should be afraid of.
Right, but notice that's not in this.
You're right. It's
like,
not.
Because if that's the level you're working on all the time, then you have no game.
Well, I think what it is that they set it up with this trailer and probably the opening cinematic. But then they're just the boogeyman in the castle.
Right, there's 5 of them or whatever, and you're going to fight them eventually, but those are the only characters in the game that can do shit like that.
Right, and it's up to you to decide when you have the guts to actually... Otherwise, they're just this mystical thing that's sitting in this castle that you probably never see.
Yeah, you're going to fight a lot of bandits and wolves, and you're going to feed on a lot of drunk people, and again, like, I want to be more interested than I am. It is probably in my top 10 or so anticipated games right now. But like, this could go real.
It could go
sideways real hard.
I mean, it could just be a complete disaster.
Yeah.
I mean, it could just be a complete piece of junk.
Like we could be looking at a Gothic 3 here.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. So we'll see. But the pedigree's there. What they've shown so far looks pretty good. But a story we're going to talk about in a little bit in the Lightning Round News Roundup shows you that just because you see a game played and it looks like it might be pretty good doesn't necessarily mean that there's a game there. So We'll get to that a little bit later, but I am like you. It's also in my top 10 most wanted. It's like, look, if you're going to make a game that's kind of like The Witcher from people who made The Witcher, I'm going to be excited about it. Like, that's just the way it's going to be.
It's just like, it's like I want it to be as good as The Witcher 3, and like my gut tells me it's going to be about as good as like
The Witcher 1.
As Blades of Fire.
Or maybe, yeah. You're probably right. Let's check in with you guys and see what you guys are saying about this game. I saw a couple people saying already that they're excited for it. Ashes in the Hourglass says, bringing up mods always sounds weird. Like, if that's the case, we should remove stories from games because I'm sure there's a skip all cutscenes and story mod. At some point, a dev should just stick to their guts and make their game. I agree with your last statement there. I think that's how art should work.
I just think that if you want to put a time limit in your game, your gut is wrong.
Probably. Yeah.
And I don't. Why would I? There are skip all cutscenes mods, but I don't use those because cutscenes don't annoy me.
Yeah.
Unless I have to watch them over and over again, in which case you should be able to skip them.
JJ Forcebreaker brings up a good point. Redfall tried to put a twist on vampires, and I'd forgotten about it.
Yeah, I forgot about Redfall.
I had completely forgotten about it already. That just shows you how forgettable the game was. And then Nox809 says there's always the obligatory scene where the protagonists figure out how to kill the vampire. Yep. It just comes to them all of a sudden.
One of the refreshing things about Sinners is that there's a character that already knows everything.
Oh.
And you don't have to go through the problem. Like, you don't have to go through the issue of, like, what are these? What is going on? Yeah. One of them is like, they're fucking vampires, and here's how you deal with it. So it's pretty great.
I still haven't seen that yet. That's on streaming now, though, right?
About to be. It's either on streaming or it's about to be this week.
In this week or something. Yeah, I'm pretty excited for that. I want to check that out for sure. Retro Modern Gamer says, look how well MindsEye turned out. That's why I kept bringing it up. That's why I kept bringing it up, because that's a good analog. It's also an open world game, and like a studio trying to make its first open world game, and eventually it was like, we can't do it, so we need to dial it back.
Well, also remember that like one of the big criticisms of MindsEye from almost everyone was that it felt like something from 2009.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, The Witcher 3 is 10 years old.
Right.
This game, even if it kind of does The Witcher 3 it could still feel like a decade-old game.
Really good. Eth Demon says, gonna say Baldur's Gate 3 was one of the few RPGs that let you go truly evil. We need more games where evil is, evil.
Yeah. One of the things Baldur's Gate 3 has at an advantage for that is that they actually had the narrative flexibility to make the evil characters, which would normally be your kind of enemies in the game, react to you being evil by kind of talking to you.
Like, hey, we're bros.
Like, being evil opened up a whole other conversation world for you that maybe the good characters won't talk to you anymore, but all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can just walk into the fucking goblin stronghold and talk to these people because they know I'm a dick. It's like, it really changed how things worked, which is, which is what evil would do in that, if you're really talking about that kind of, but most games simply don't have the bandwidth to basically make two games.
Yeah.
That's what that is,
it
really.
Is. Bushy Wookie, thank you for Twitch Prime getting in there. Any other comments? Erebus says, the first mod this game gets removes that time limit. I'd bet any money.
Yep.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yep. So anyway, there you go. That is the Blood of Dawnwalker. We'll cover this again here on GameFace, I'm sure, because it's still like a year away from release. I'm sure they'll put out a demo at some point. We'll talk about it again. It'll be at next year's Not E3. Probably one of the bigger games at next year's Not E3, I would guess. So, we'll see as time goes on if the hype around this game builds or if it subsides. I think that demo that they just showed helped it for the most part.
Somewhat. I think, again, if they're hoping for a Witcher 3 level hit, you're going to have to change that combat.
Yeah.
That's not going to work.
It needs to just be action-based combat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you might, if you're lucky, you could get Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 sold really well, but I haven't heard anyone talk about it
at first
in
it
months.
Yeah. I don't know if it's continued to sell really well.
I think that did well out of the gate, and I don't think word of mouth did it any good.
Doesn't seem like it. Yeah.
So I don't know. Like Witcher 3 had a long tail.
Oh. The tail's still there.
Yeah.
People are still buying it. I mean, there aren't many games like The Witcher 3. It's sold like 60 or 70 million units at this point.
Again, this is just not as compelling an idea as The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
Like The Witcher 3, one of the reasons it works is like you are a monster hunter with magic powers. Mm-hmm. And two cool swords.
Yeah.
Go kill monsters.
Yeah.
That's it.
And you do
this is
do
like,
that in
well,
this,
you turn into a vampire, and you have 22 days to save your family, but you don't have to save your family. But at nighttime, you turn into a vampire, and you gotta drink blood, and then you can do that. But you can also drink it from animals if you want to drink that. If you don't want to be evil, but if you don't be evil, then you lead to humanity, and so you're gonna have to save your family. And then the time limit's gonna make sure you have to go. But then the guy's in the castle, so you can always just go to the castle. But you might not be powerful enough to do it yet. But you can go in during the daytime and look around. But at nighttime, there's vampires everywhere, so you don't want to go and look at the vampires everywhere because then you just get killed because you might not be powerful enough. And that's why you got to decide. And it's like, okay, like what are we doing anymore?
No, you're right.
Like,
it's too much. Yeah,
it's not as compelling a elevator pitch.
No, you're right.
And I think it's gonna stumble on that a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think this was an elevator pitch.
No, definitely not.
This is they went to Bandai Namco and were like, "Hey, we made The Witcher 3, and Bandai
we're gonna
Namco
make you a
was
Witcher
like,
game.
Here's the contract.
Yeah.
Sign it as fast as you can."
Probably.
That's what happened. Absolutely.
I just it's not as compelling an idea. As
I agree.
The Witcher.
Yeah, I agree.
The Witcher is a once in a generation idea.
Yeah,
basically.
they did say that there will be.
It's uniquely suited to an action RPG.
Yeah,
and you can tell because they took 3 games to get there, but they finally got to where the execution lived up to what the Witcher
promise.
Concept was.
Yeah. The developers did say there will be other monsters in this besides vampires.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Other werewolves. Like, you're just gonna go.
I mean,
down the list.
the whole universal. I mean, you can have golems. You can have.
Yeah.
That's what Frankenstein more or less is.
Yeah.
A golem or a reanimated corpse. You get zombies. You get.
Yeah.
You want to get really clever, you get like a mummy kind of thing. It's like, fuck it. Ancient ruins,
Go
like
for it.
semi-Egyptian, like whatever.
Yeah.
You have the whole Universal crew there with all the serial numbers filed off.
All right, well, there you go. That is the Blood of Dawnwalker again. We'll be talking about
I mean a
that
medieval
game.
Abbott and Costello equivalent.
Yeah.
We got to go on a little adventure.
I wouldn't be surprised, too, if this game's announced for Switch 2 in the near future. That game can definitely run on Switch 2.
Yeah, that probably. I mean, if it's Unreal 5, you can probably scale it to just about anything.
Yeah. So anyway, as of now, it's only announced for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series, and coming.
I'm sure part of that's just because they don't have a Switch 2 dev kit yet.
Yeah, like nobody does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially a small studio like that. So I think that'll come online eventually. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk about what probably was technically the biggest release of the week. It was not a big week for releases unless you're talking about Death Stranding 2, but that's not even out yet. So
judging by my friends list, the big release of the week was Rematch.
It was, yeah. But I mean,
nobody's playing this.
Literally nobody.
Because if you recall, when they first showed this, my reaction was, fuck you.
Who cares? Yeah.
This is not what anyone who likes these games wants. And if anyone would ever like to, I don't know, listen to me for once, maybe you'd save a few $1 million by not making this fucking garbage.
The Duh Consulting Agency to the rescue once again. Well, this game is called FBC Firebreak. It is a cooperative first-person shooter.
Actually, Vincent's right. The big release is Peak.
Oh, right. That ended up becoming
That's
a
the
thing.
game that's going to have the most, like,
yeah, we may talk about that next week. That became a thing over the last 3 days, really.
Yeah.
But we'll probably talk about that in next week's show. But this is a cooperative third-person shooter where you play with 2 other people. First person. I keep saying third person for some reason. And it's set in the same universe as the Control games. So it takes place in the biggest house, and you're fighting the supernatural creatures called the Hiss.
Isn't it the oldest house?
The oldest house. What did I call it?
The biggest house? I mean, it is pretty big.
If this game takes place in it, it's really freaking big. But yeah, it's the oldest house. And so you fight all the enemies that you saw in Control, which was my game of the year it came out. Admittedly, in a very weak year for game releases, but it was my game of the year. Was that 2018?
Control?
Yeah.
Maybe 2017, 2018, in there somewhere.
Was it The Witcher 2017?
No, Witcher was 2015. It's
2015.
10 years old.
No, I think it was 2017 then. I think you're right. So it has all the same enemies that you know from that game. 2019.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's crazy.
More recent than I thought.
Me too.
Time just stops meaning anything after 2020.
It kind of does. Control 2, though, is in development and is on the way, which actually means that maybe it's not as far off as I thought. I'm actually pleasantly surprised to hear that was 2019. We're 6 years out from that. Maybe we'll get the sequel here in the very near future. But anyway, this takes place in the universe, in the same location, but there's no context for it at all. There's not even an opening cutscene in this game. There's not even like an attract video that you watch that gets you excited to like pick it up and play it if you're at a game store or whatever. The game just starts and you're in an elevator. And that's it. There's no setup. They don't explain why you're here. Like if you go on the internet and you read stuff that they wrote about the game, you can figure out what the premise is. But if you play the game, there's really no context for it pretty much at all. They're just like, hey, you need to go in here and clear out all the enemies out of this place because they're bad. That's pretty much all there is. And the setup is that you used to be a pencil-pushing member of the FBC, the Federal Bureau of Control. You have no choice but to create makeshift weaponry and gear to wipe out the hiss from the oldest house. And that's pretty much it. There's a bunch of banter that happens between the characters while you're playing, and they talk about a bunch of stuff from Control and things like that. If you played Control, you're like, oh, okay, that's kind of clever or whatever. But none of it is shown. Like, they don't show you anything. Like, they're literally just talking as you're playing, and that's the only context you get for this. So, the way the game works is you start in an elevator, and it is even like a game where you gradually, like, increase your power in the match. You do over time. When you finish a match, you get your points, and you can go back and you can upgrade stuff and get new weapons and things like that. But mid-match, what you go in with is what you got. And so you go in, and basically you jump out of the elevator with 2 other players, and you just start shooting through this stuff, and there are weird objectives that you have to accomplish along the way. Like this one right here. So there's these weird anomalies that you can see here, and then there's these devices that you have to go and pick up and take them to the anomaly, and then you do this little QuickTime event mini-game to fire them up, basically. And so those anomalies you're seeing are like these ice fulcrums or something. You put these things on them, it like cools them off and eliminates them. And those are kind of the little things that you're doing. This mini game that you're seeing right now to extinguish the fire, you use that mini game for everything. You eventually use it to re-up your ammo. The interesting about this game is to restore your health in this, there are showers that you get in. And the funny part is you can stand in the shower while you're getting the health replenished and fight at the same time. So a lot of times you'll be standing in the shower and the enemies will show up and you're getting your health replenished while you're fighting the enemies, which is kind of interesting. And like a lot of games of this ilk, where it's basically like a horde mode that they're just sending waves of enemies at you, eventually the enemies get more difficult, and there's heavies that you have to fight, and that's what we're fighting right now in this B-roll. There's some of the bigger dudes. You see that guy has a crazy thing on his back. Obviously, that's the weak point that you want to shoot. And otherwise, it just plays like a typical horde mode shooter for 3 players, but it's just set in the Control universe. Again, as you finish missions, and the missions in this are long. They literally take like 40 minutes to an hour to complete. If you try, I completed the last mission by myself. I got like, I don't know, 10 minutes into it, and the people I was playing with quit, and I stuck it out. And I finished that mission by myself. It took me 90 minutes to finish the mission. But here's the thing. There's only 5 of them. There's 3 different difficulty levels you can play each of the missions on, but there's only 5. So I finished this game. I didn't even realize I finished it. I was like, okay, where's the next mission? I thought that there was a glitch in the game and the next mission wasn't unlocking. And it turns out there are just 5. So if you play them with other people, they take about 40 minutes. If you play by yourself, they take an hour to an hour and a half. So this game also isn't free. It's a $40 game. So for $40, when it all comes down to it, you're getting around 6 hours. Now you can go back and play the missions over and over again if you want to. And I will say that as you play on the harder difficulties, the game changes pretty significantly. Like, the first level of each mission is a joke. They literally, a couple of them take like 10 minutes to finish. The second level then will take 30 minutes. The third level then will take 40 or 50 minutes. And they do open up different objectives on those different levels and give you access to new parts of the environment that you didn't have access to before. So there is value in going back and playing each of the missions on the harder settings, but still, at the end of the day, they're still basically the same. All the showers are placed in the same places. All the ammo stations are placed at the same places they were before. So they don't feel as unique to play as you may expect that they would. But like fire is an important element in this. The elements in particular are important because so that thing that I set up to cool off those fulcrums, you can also just set them up and then track enemies into them. And it sets the enemies on fire and obviously does a lot of damage. You can also herd them into these ice anomalies and it will freeze them. And so if you have a big group of enemies coming after you, a lot of times I just run past one of those ice fulcrums and it freezes all of them, and you can just stand there and just wipe them out because they freeze for a really long time and basically can't move once they get frozen. So you can use like environmental stuff for tactics and things like that to help you get through the levels. There are safe houses that you find like mid-level where you can go into these rooms, and there's health in there and there's ammo in there, but when you go in there, the enemies just go crazy. Like literally, like 300 enemies start coming in through the door. You have to be ready to take them out. So there's a risk reward there. There's also a sink in the safe houses. So water in this is what heals you. Like there's certain parts of the stages in this where if you throw a grenade, it will set off the sprinklers overhead, and you can go stand under the sprinklers and your health will replenish. There's another item that you can pick up that just sprays water to help heal your teammates. There's 3 different classes in this, which doesn't seem like enough to me. The Fix-It class, which I played the most, has a giant wrench. And you can use that as a melee weapon, or you can use it to repair stuff. You may have seen earlier I was using the wrench to like whack these electrical panels. It fixes the panels when you beat the panels, and then it activates stuff. Like maybe it activates the weapon station, or it activates the shower so you can now heal. Because you'll get to a new section of the level, all that stuff shut off. You have to go and physically turn it all on by flipping the switches. And any class can do that, but how they do it is different depending on the class. So that's the Fix-It class. There's the Jump Kit, and he has like an electro-shocking contraption that shocks enemies. It can also power up certain devices out in the world. And then there's the Splash Kit. That's the class I was talking about earlier. They have the ability to, they have a big water gun that you can use to put out fires, or you can spray your teammates with it to take off status effects like fire or ice or whatever. And they also have that ability to pick up that item and plunk it down and spray water all over your team to heal your team. There's also another mechanic in the game where you're rewarded for your team sticking together. So if all 3 of your team members are within, I don't know, like 20 feet of each other, you'll have a shield. You'll have if you look in the bottom left corner there, above the blue health bar, you have a white bar as well. That's your shield. And if you don't stay next to your teammates, here I am using the ice to take out the enemies. But if you don't stay next to your team, you don't have that shield at all. But here's the thing, like this game isn't that hard. I finished the last mission on the 3rd difficulty setting by myself. So, and I started that mission with people. So I don't know if it can scale as the people drop. It scales yet. I haven't seen too many games that do that. Maybe. My guess is, though, it's just not all that difficult. If you have 2 people to play with, you have a set number of lives. So you can see, again, down in the bottom left there, see that little green triangle that says 1? That means I have 1 life left. So if I die, I'm basically done. But as you play, I think you start with like 8 between your entire team. So you share all those lives. So you have to coordinate. Say both of you die at the same time. Both of you do not want to revive yourself because that takes a life away. You let one person revive and then come and run to you and revive you without spending one of the lives. So there's a little bit of strategy involved with how you manage the lives that you have. But at the end of the day, it's just not all that difficult. It's not hard enough where you even really need sort of all those mechanics and those features in the game at all. There are perks that you can select. As I said, when you do go back, you can get new guns that are more powerful. I pretty much just stuck with the SMG throughout the entirety of the game. And eventually it does get more powerful to where it does more damage. It will also lose its kick and its recoil, so it fires a lot more steady, just like every other shooter, basically. As you play, you get this stuff. So there you saw the ammo station. Here's the health station. You just stand underneath the shower, and it refills your health. And again, there you go. Enemies will show up while you're doing this, and you can fight while your health is being replenished at the same time, which is kind of interesting. Aren't a lot of games that do that stuff. But anyway, there are, like 20 or 30 different perks that you can select. You get, like, faster reload, stronger melee attacks, stuff like that. Each perk also has 3 different unlockable tiers to increase the potency of that perk. So there is motivation to keep playing, but it's like, when you're playing through the same content, it just kind of loses its charm. So the last mission, there's this section where you go into this big room, and you have to find mannequins that are hidden in the room. You have to pick them up and throw them onto these ski lifts that are flying around in the room. The first time you do that, you're like, oh, that's cool. That's kind of clever and interesting and different. And then the third time you do it, you're like, this is annoying because these mannequins don't fly the way they're supposed to or whatever. So a lot of this stuff that's cool and fun the first time you do it, it doesn't hold up through multiple playthroughs. And that's what this game is trying to get you to do, is to keep playing the stuff over and over again. Also, the grenades in this are so weak. It's like, why even have them? That was the one reason I eventually switched away from this class, is because they're grenades. I'm like, why do I even have these things? It literally takes like 1 pixel off of the heavy's health. And then also another way that you can squeeze a little bit more playtime out of this game are with these modifiers that are called corrupted items. They are these like domestic things that are out in the level that you're supposed to destroy. Things like fire hydrants, and like one time I found this gigantic ball just hanging out in the world, And they are modifying the game to make it more difficult. So if you find those out in the world and you destroy them, it makes the rest of the mission a little bit more easier, which, again, a mechanic that you don't see in a lot of other games. Yeah, the gunplay feels good generally. I mean, I don't know. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give the gunplay like a 7 maybe. Some of the guns feel really good. Some of them don't. Like, the wrench doesn't feel like it really has any impact when you use it. The melee isn't great. But the guns themselves shoot pretty well. The auto-aim isn't too overbearing. It helps you a little bit, but not so much that you don't feel like you're the one who's in control. There's not that many guns. You have the SMG, shotgun, machine gun, pistol, melee weapons, and that's pretty much it. It pretty much sticks to the old standbys that you might expect from pretty much every shooter that you've ever played. You probably even already figured out from this B-roll that the enemies eventually get repetitive. Like, you are fighting...
I'm already tired of them.
Yep. You are fighting the same 6 or 7 enemy types pretty much throughout the whole game. But if you play Control, you know what those enemies are, because you did the same thing in Control. They got redundant and ridiculous in that game as well, and it doesn't help in a game where all you're doing is fighting hordes of enemies and waves of enemies that are tossed at you. So that was another thing that kind of got annoying after a while. All the enemies started to kind of feel the same.
At least in Control, you got a bunch of weird powers and that gun that can shift things.
Right.
And stuff. Like,
yeah, you had all that crazy, like, sci-fi stuff. Like, where is that? Like, where's all, like, the supernatural stuff for you in this? It's like everybody else can do it, but you can't. You're just some dude with a gun. Everybody else is living in this other astral plane or some shit. I don't know. The bottom line with this game is there's tons of stuff to mess around with. It looks like it has all these cool features and all these things that, like, if you play it for the 20th time, I can see where this matters. None of it matters because it's just too easy. All those systems are just pointless. Like, you can dive in and go into all these perks and get to the 3rd level of your perks and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. I finished this game pretty much just putting around and shooting stuff and completing the mission tasks. That's all you got to do. You don't have to use all the other detail, detritus in this game to make progress. So I don't know, maybe eventually they create a harder difficulty setting and then maybe some of this stuff becomes a little bit more relevant. But what I found basically was it's a pretty rote sci-fi 3rd-person cooperative shooter. I'll say this, it is not a game as a service. There is no battle pass in this. There's no, like, list of stuff where you come back and, like, oh wow, now that clip unlocked and now I can attach that clip. It's nothing like that. Like, basically, you just earn the weapons that you get, you earn the upgrades that you get, and there are perks, but there's no games-as-a-service element to this at all, because this game also costs money. It's on Game Pass right now, and you can play it for free, but it costs $30. They're trying to charge people $30 for this, and it's just going to be doomed. Even with it on Game Pass, trying to find people to play with is impossible. Nobody cares about this game, Matt. You are 1,000% right. It didn't help that on the day that it launched on Game Pass, the servers were just completely nuked.
Well, also it didn't help that there's no real way to know this is connected to Control or the Remedyverse at all. Like, there's nothing. Doesn't look like anything.
It doesn't. It just looks like a typical 3rd-person cooperative shooter, other than the fact that there's enemies that are flying through the air sitting in chairs. I mean, that's pretty much the only difference. So I did look. I enjoyed the time I spent with it. If I spent $30 for it, I'd be really pissed. It's great on Game Pass, where it's just a part of this $20 that I spent this month, and I played it for 5 hours and got whatever I wanted out of it and moved on. If you're into these type of games, I definitely recommend downloading it on Game Pass and playing it. I do not recommend spending $30 on this game. I don't even know if this game's going to last another 3 weeks. It is so hard to get people to play with. There's nobody playing this game, and I have cross-platform turned on. So I'm trying to play with people on Game Pass, on PC, on console.
No, hopefully they got their money's worth from Game Pass and PlayStation Plus to make up for what they spent making it.
Right.
Because they ain't getting it through sales.
They're not. I mean, I would never recommend someone spend $30 on this. I mean, you're basically talking like, I don't know, $6 an hour.
Yeah.
Entertainment value at that point. That's a hard ask.
I mean, it's better than a movie.
It is. But it's a different kind of entertainment.
Why?
But you can see they're all being frozen by that anomaly.
Where's the personality? Like, where's the remedy in this?
Right. Again, the people flying around in chairs.
I guess.
That's it. Everything else could have been pulled from any other game. I don't know. This seems like a huge misstep for Remedy to me. I don't know why it's decided to do this. I get trying to broaden your horizons. It's not like it hasn't made shooters in the past. Obviously, Max Payne is its property and all that kind of stuff. But Here you're seeing the mannequin stuff.
And I mean, Control is a shooter.
Yeah.
A lot of, I mean,
for the most part,
it's not a first-person shooter, but there's a lot of shooting.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't see the point.
Yeah.
Like, who wanted this?
I don't think anybody asked for it.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody did. And it's like, with a game like this, if you come out of the gate and your servers are borked, you're screwed. Word of mouth spreads on the internet. The game isn't even playable. I played this the first day. I got in the first match, no problem. Could not get another match for 2 days. And I was like, well, GameFace is coming. I need to play more of this. And luckily, I went 2 days ago and started playing it again, and they had fixed the server issues, and I was able to at least get games. But probably 5 out of 6 times I play this, my whole team leaves, and I'm stuck playing it by myself. And you can get through this by yourself, but you have to be very patient. And you have to kind of like poke. Like you take on a horde, you run back, you refill your ammo, you get in the shower, go back, poke again, take on one little horde, run back, refill your ammo, get in the shower to refill your health. And that's the gameplay loop. Rinse and repeat. So that's FBC Firebreak. To me, it's pretty disappointing. And in this era of us getting games like this, it feels like every month, this does not do enough to stand out. And particularly since it's not free to play and they're asking $30 for it, I just really struggle to recommend it to anybody but Game Pass subscribers. And I would say, like, if you like cooperative shooters, this is a solid one. It's a good one. But there's just so many of them that telling someone to spend $30 on one of them just seems like asinine. So I would not recommend anybody spend $30 on FBC Firebreak. And I've been surprised reading some other people's reviews. They've just overlooked, like, so many of the game's flaws. Like this, I read a review this morning, give this game an 8. I'm just like, what? Okay.
8 out of what?
10. Right. 8 out of 100? It's not that bad. And again, it's not a bad game. It's a competent game, but it's just these types of games are free-to-play games now. You don't pay for them. And you can even kind of see there's like paid stuff that you can pay for in this. That does look a little bit like a battle pass. I didn't have to touch it to finish the game. I didn't even look at it until I started gathering footage and like started preparing to review it here on GameFace. They're there though. So there is an opportunity maybe for this game to change over to a free-to-play game with a battle pass eventually. I don't know if Remedy's been hedging its bets on this and been planning it all along. But now you're seeing a boss fight. So generally how each stage works, you battle through several stages, you go to different areas, and then at the end you fight a boss. And a lot of times the boss is just some dude. It's not like some crazy sci-fi monster or anything.
He pretty much got himself killed.
Man. Yeah, he just ran into the fire and killed himself. So anyway, this is FBC Firebreak. I play it on Game Pass if you're interested. If what you saw interests you or what I said interests you, get Game Pass for a month. You'll save yourself $10 just on this game alone. And you'll be able to also play the game we're about to talk about in 5 minutes here, which is a game that everybody is playing, unlike this one. I mean, that's really the death knell for this game, is that no one's playing it.
Yeah.
That you can't get a game. Even 3 players to play with you. Like, I only played with 3 players once.
Squishy Muffin says the 24-hour peak player number on Steam is 294.
There you go.
I mean, obviously that's going to be low because you can get it for free on other platforms, on Game Pass or PS Plus, but
yeah, it was a huge misstep for Remedy. And again, it's not a bad game. It is a competent game that's fun to play while it lasts. I just can't recommend that you spend real money for it. Let's check you guys out. Some of you guys may have been playing this. It's on Game Pass. You know, you guys could have been spending time with it, like just like I was this last week.
Or you could value your time and play something else.
Which is what I'm trying to help you with, is making sure you're not wasting your time on this game. Vincent says, Module Cell did a $10 super chat on YouTube and gifted 5 subs. This is the first time I've caught GameFace live on YouTube, working from home today, and had time to step away. Hope you guys do more gifting memberships. Thank you, Module Cell. I don't know if you're still watching, but thank you, man. That's awesome. And we will be back. We're going to do GameFace on YouTube every week going forward. So if you're watching the show on YouTube right now, totally cool. Yep. 294, the peak on Steam. That's so bad. Slagathor says, maybe this would have been more successful bundled into Control 2 as a bonus. Yes. Slagathor, you're a genius. That's exactly what they should have done.
Yeah, but then they wouldn't have gotten money from Game Pass and PlayStation Plus from it.
That's true. And that may have been their whole goal.
Yeah.
I do wonder if developers now are kind of targeting Game Pass and PlayStation Plus with their games and being like, look, if we can get on that, we're good. We can at least cover all our expenses.
Yeah. There's a sucker born every minute.
There is. And Microsoft ultimately is the one who's writing those checks. So who's the sucker?
Mm-hmm.
Is it Microsoft?
Yeah.
It might be.
The green color is lime because that's the flavor of the sucker.
Swan Senpai says, I wonder if they were hoping it would hit big to support their real passion projects without relying on outside funding. I mean, that's why everyone's doing this multiplayer stuff.
I can't imagine anyone would have thought that from this, though, because there's just not enough. It's not enough. It's not financially exploitative enough.
Yeah.
Like, like you say, it's not a battle pass game. So it's just like random extra shit. It's not even being a predatory free-to-play game. It's just $30 for a mediocre short co-op shooter. I don't get it.
No,
that has none of the personality and none of the verve of Remedy's other stuff.
Yep.
So what are you doing?
Cinetuck's asking about that. He says, does the control/Remedy quirkiness come up and make it more fun? It really doesn't, man. Like, again, the only place you're getting it is from the little vocal quips from your teammates that say stuff. And that's the only thing that ties it to control other than the enemies that you're fighting. And as you saw in that B-roll, there's really only 1 or 2 enemies in that whole lot that stand out from control. Otherwise, they just look like generic sci-fi enemies. That guy B Solo, thank you for Twitch Prime. That's awesome. Appreciate it. Ian Esquire says, I can't believe this game exists. It is kind of crazy that they went all the way through with it and completed it, because we hear about games like this getting canceled almost on a weekly basis. Mm-hmm. Like, People Can Fly have canceled like 3 games like this in the last 18 months. So, but for whatever reason, Remedy was like, we're just going to go ahead and just do it. So, Retro Modern Gamer says, at least it's not broke like MindsEye. See, here's the thing about MindsEye. We're going to talk about this actually in our lightning round. For me, that game wasn't broken. And if you read reviews, every reviewer is like, what are people talking about? I played this on PC and I didn't have any issues with it. I put it on PS5. I had not a single bug. I don't know where this is coming from.
I mean, there was a lot of technical
problems.
problems.
It's a shitty game, but it's not busted.
But I guess some people are having it be completely busted.
I guess so.
Depending on what your hardware config, whether you got lucky or not. I didn't have any technical problems.
Yeah, me either.
I just thought it was boring.
Mm-hmm. It was just a bad game. Yeah, that needed way more time in the
like even if it was technically perfect, it still wouldn't be good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the problem is not, I mean, the bugs don't help. All the if you're having technical problems with it, if it's not running at a proper frame rate for your hardware configuration, sure, that's an extra thing on top of why it's bad. Mm-hmm. It's not why it's bad.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. You're on YouTube now. He unalived himself, you mean? I'm not sure what that means.
Unalived.
Unalived. Oh, okay.
That's the to get around some of Google's filters on things. You didn't kill yourself. You unalived.
Oh.
You didn't, they will filter through like words like kill and murder.
Really? If you stream on there.
Sometimes, I mean, I don't think that's actually true. I watch plenty of things where
people say that stuff. Yeah.
But that was kind of like a thing that it came up basically on TikTok to get around their filters. So you say unalived instead of that. You say segs instead of sex. It's a whole lingo to get around like a chat, basically a censorship filter.
Jeez. Khalid Talai says, does that make Game Pass the new Netflix? Quick paycheck for mid-content. I mean, I think people called Game Pass like the Netflix of gaming for a while.
I mean, there is probably a pipeline to that if you can exploit it.
Yeah. Santuck says, though, it pains me to agree that from what was shown here, FBC Firebreak was not one of the best examples, sadly for me. Yeah. Swan Senpai says, people are using Clint instead of the C word. Why would you want to use a C word anyway?
I don't know.
If you can't think of a better word, if you're watching people who use the C word, stop watching those people. If they can't come up with a better word to use than that, you shouldn't be following.
And is it Clint as in Eastwood or Clint as in Barton?
Or Clint as in Jaws.
That's Quint.
Quint, that's right. Wasn't it just the 50th anniversary this week or something?
Yeah.
That made me feel old. I was like, oh, wow. Okay.
To be fair, I'm younger than that movie. But no, I do remember it.
Yeah.
What was it? A couple years ago, I went to a costume-themed birthday party as Quint.
Oh.
Because I was the same age Robert Shaw was when he played him.
And yet you're rocking the bigger beard then, probably?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't watch Jaws until I was like 12 or something.
Jaws might be
obviously my parents were not going to let me watch that when I was a child.
Jaws might be my first memory.
Really?
One of my earliest memories is seeing Jaws from the backseat of my dad's Impala at a drive-in theater. It was the reissue in 1979, so I was 3. I
saw Star Wars like that in the back of a paneled station wagon, And after that, David Bowie's The Man Who Fell to Earth came on.
There's a double feature.
The first scene of that is sex in an elevator. I was like, 2, 3. I remember it. I remember seeing naked boobs.
I mean, I remember the naked girl getting killed by the shark. I remember the autopsy scene. I remember I remember a lot of Jaws. I was 3. I remember that night, like from the back seat. I remember that. I remember Alligator. Is a double feature with Alligator.
Oh, I remember that movie.
I don't remember Alligator as well. I do remember it busting through the sidewalk. That was the only image.
Well, you probably fell asleep because you're a kid.
Yeah. But my dad loved movies, and it was kind of like, well, we're gonna go see the movie in the drive-in, even if the kids. So I just throw him in the back, and he won't pay attention. But I remember Jaws.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid of the ocean to this day. So I think that's probably what happened there. A little thalassophobia from the drive-in.
Yep. Anyway, there you go. That's FBC Firebreak. Stay far away unless you're on Game Pass. Even on Game Pass, it's hard to get enough people to play a freaking match.
Yeah.
It's basically free there.
It's just like I guarantee you have better things to do.
Yes.
Like go read a book. I don't care.
Anything.
It's
just
a point
go outside.
It's a point at which you don't need to always be playing a video game.
Right.
And I'd like to say that to all the people that constantly are trying to push handheld shit on us too. It's like, oh, you can stream the thing to this thing if you're on it. I'm like, just fucking read something. Just look at the trees. I don't know. Like, you don't always have to be playing a fucking video game.
Well, it's like people ask me, it's
this
like
is me talking.
When you go home, they're like, do you take your Switch with? No, I don't. I intentionally leave it at home. I need breaks. Like, I go home for Labor Day weekend for like 3 or 4 days. I leave it here. When I go home for the holidays for a week or whatever, I leave it here. Even we need breaks here and there. Like, it's not healthy to do the same thing all day, every day.
Sometimes I'll bring, like, if I'm driving, I'll bring a PlayStation with me or something, just to keep up with things. But, like, it's not really... A lot of times I never even hook it up.
Yeah. That's what happened to me. I was taking my Switch home and never using it. And I'm like, why am I risking this getting lost in the flight or getting damaged or whatever, or me forgetting it? Like, it's just not worth it. So I just stopped taking it.
Last few flights, I don't play things on planes, like, unless it's like a transatlantic flight or something. I just I just read.
Yeah. Or watch movies or
watch movies. That's gone. But like reading, it's a good time to get reading because nobody bothers you except if they ask you if you want like juice.
It's a good opportunity for me to catch up on the movies that I don't go to see in theaters anymore.
Last time I went to San Francisco, I read The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, really?
I hadn't read since the 90s, and I gotta say, when I read it in the 90s, it was a dystopian sort of what-if story, and now it's like, oh, this is like what's happening. It's like a handbook.
It really is.
It's astounding.
What's astounding is that there are people who will watch that and still can't connect the dots.
Don't connect the,
I have relatives who are whatever, and they watch that show, and they have not connected the dots that is where we are headed, thanks to them. They are like, oh, this is horrible. It's like, yeah. It's horrible. And hello.
Have you heard what some of the people in charge of things are saying about it? It's very similar. Stephen Miller would love The Handmaid's Tale.
Insane, dude. Anyway.
Just saying.
Anyway, there you go. That's FBC Firebreak. Stay far away.
I kept looking up in the plane, looking around at it. People like,
have you read this?
Have you read this? Like, I think I heard someone say this on the news the other day.
Okay, let's move on. We're going to talk about what is really the biggest game of the week, other than Peak. I think Peak and Rematch are duking it out right now. And I think Rematch has the advantage because it's on Game Pass.
Peak seems to be the cultural hit, and Rematch, I've seen more people playing Rematch this week than I've seen playing the same game at the same time in a long time. Probably since, I don't even know. I mean, maybe Starfield. Like,
it's football. I mean, it's the world's most popular sport. More people play and watch soccer, football, than any other sport. Even people that don't like American football or any sports in America, some of them like soccer. And this is a cel-shaded, arcade-style soccer game. And again, it is on Game Pass, so if you're a Game Pass subscriber, you can go download it right now. It does cost $30 or $40. I can't remember. Oh, I got this mixed up, by the way. Firebreak is $40. This game is $30. So Rematch is $30, FBC Firebreak is $40. So you can buy this for $30, and it does appear that a lot of people are doing that because this game's Steam count is actually pretty good.
Most of the people I'm seeing playing are on Steam.
Yeah, it has a million players already.
Almost half my Steam list is this game.
Yeah.
Every day.
It has 1 million players already. Now, I'm just going to say, this B-roll that you're watching right now, this is from the early access version. I did not record new B-roll because I played it, the new quote-unquote 1.0 finished version or whatever, and I really struggled to see many changes or differences in it. So I felt okay running the early access version of the B-roll for you guys to watch here when I talk about it, even though I have played the final version extensively at this point. I guess the first thing I would say, sort of top line, is that if you did watch my impressions of the early access version of this, they haven't changed all that much. This is another one of those games that I've been reading reviews for. I read a couple of them. And people don't seem to be having problems with the same things that I have problems with. So you can choose whether you want to play this 3-on-3, 4-on-4, or 5-on-5. The pitch does not change. So the 5-on-5 games, which is what you should be playing because that's what ranked is. And so if you want to prepare for real competition and prepare for ranked modes, you should be playing 5 versus 5. But man, when you play this game in 5 versus 5, you do not have even a split second once you get the ball to do something before someone's slide tackling you. The other thing too is that, like, when I was playing this in early access, a lot of the people playing it weren't very good. There are really good players at this now that aren't even necessarily very good. They have figured out how to cheese the game in a lot of ways. So if you're playing 5-on-5, as soon as you get the ball, just do a move. Don't even wait to see another character, another player enter the screen. As soon as you get the ball, do the juggle. That's what you have to do to survive in this game. And the juggle in this game breaks the game in a bunch of different ways. So 3 versus 3, people compare it to Rocket League. You have a little bit more time with the ball before you have to worry about somebody slide tackling you or bumping you and trying to take the ball, but not much more. But I did enjoy the 3 versus 3 more than the 5v5. But again, rank mode is 5v5, so I bailed on 3v3, and I've been playing 5 versus 5 pretty much the entire time, hopefully trying to prepare myself for better competition. But it is just cutthroat, brutal, man. As soon as you get the ball, there's just people all over you. And the controls in this, a lot of them are done with modifiers. So the juggle that I brought up a minute ago, you have to hold RB and tap the X button on PlayStation or the A button on an Xbox controller. And you do this thing where you juggle the ball over your head, over the defender, and it will land about 10 yards in front of you. And you basically just have to learn how to link those together and go down the field. Because if you don't, people are going to steal the ball from you. So it turns into this thing where you're just constantly doing this over-the-head lob, dribble, juke thing all the way down the field until you get in line to where you can score. My big issue with this game is when you don't have the ball. When you have the ball, it's fine. And sure, there's ways you can cheese it, because what people are doing is they're using that little lob volley thing to score. So if you're breaking away and it's just you and the goalie's always controlled by a human, by the way. But if you run up to the goalie and you do that little nutmeg thing that just pops it over his head, you score every time. Because he comes running at you and tries to do a save. And if you do that, if you just hold RB and tap the X or the A button, you'll just pop it right over him and right into the goal. And that is the way a lot of goals are scored in this. Pretty much every breakaway goal from a good player, that's how they score. The other way that they score is with bicycle kicks, because it's the only way to score. So I mentioned earlier that I don't mind this game when I have the ball. It gives you all the tools that you need to run down the field. The passing's fine. It's maybe a little bit erratic, but the passing's fine. The shooting is fine. Everything's all good. It's when you don't have the ball that things get messy. So if you're streaking down the field and your team has the ball and your teammate's streaking down the right flank and you're running down midfield and you're hoping for him to pass over to you, you have to situate the camera so that you can see both your teammate that's streaking down the right flank and you can see the goal. Because if you want to do a one-timer or a bicycle kick and you want to aim it, it is insane. I still don't know how people don't bring this up in every freaking review. I cannot one time in this game unless I do a bicycle kick. And when I do a bicycle kick, I have no idea where it's going. The good news is it feels like 5 out of 6 bicycle kicks score. So either you're doing the lob over the goalie on a breakaway, or you're doing like a one-timer bicycle kick to score. Otherwise, doing one-timers in this, I can't do it, because you have to look at the player who has the ball to know that the ball is coming to you. And then once the ball gets to you, you need to aim. And to aim, you have to move the camera away from facing your teammate onto the goal, target it, and then load up the kick and kick it. And there's just no good way to do it. I don't know. I don't see anybody else playing this game doing it either. If they're one-timing it, it is always a bicycle kick. So to me, that is just a gigantic component of any game like this. Whether you're playing a soccer/football game or a hockey game, one-timers, being able to get off that shot immediately as soon as the ball gets to you, is a key to these games. One-timers is how you've scored in hockey games for the last 30 freaking years. And it's very awkward and hard to do it in this game. I never feel comfortable doing it unless I do a bicycle kick. And then I don't really know where the ball's going, but it seems like it scores every once in a while. So to me, a very integral part of this game, it just doesn't, when you're playing a single player, it's just hard to do a lot of things that you're used to doing when you're seeing the whole team. And you know you're passing to that guy, and you can load up the shoot button before that ball even gets to him. So I've struggled with the one-timers and shooting accuracy in this. Players are definitely cheesing the game a good bit, but here's the thing, I've still had a lot of fun playing it. There's just something about it. The other thing, too, I think people have forgotten is that FIFA, EA Sports FC, also has this mode. You can play as a single player in EA Sports FC. 11 on 11 if you want to. But for whatever reason, because this game does just this, people seem to think that it's doing something that FIFA doesn't do or EA Sports FC doesn't do. That's not true. You can play modes just like this in EA's games, but they're not the main mode, so people just either don't know that they exist or whatever, but the truth is, you can play FIFA pretty much just like this. But you just saw right there, something that happens all the time. The other problem with this game is playing goalie. You always have to play goal. And I still haven't quite figured out, Matt, what makes you become goalie. It seems like if the other team scores and you're close to the goal, then you're goalie, or maybe it's just cycled, you just take your turn. I don't know.
It looks like whoever's closest to the goal becomes the goalie.
Maybe.
Because I saw earlier, like, a guy walked out of the goalie box, and he flicked the goalie gloves off himself.
But that doesn't mean it's someone else's goalie. That just means that he bailed on his responsibility. And you can leave the goal as goalie and go and try to play, but obviously there's no one protecting the goal at that point. So if you're assigned as goalie,
your opponents have no goalie right now.
And you have the mitts on, you need to play goalie. But here's the thing, like playing goalie in this, I don't know, 7 out of 10 saves work fine. You can dive to the left or right when they shoot to the left or right. But a lot of times, if they shoot directly at you and you only need to move maybe a foot to the left or right to make the save, your goalie will either jump up in the air, straight up in the air, and the ball will go under his feet, or he'll dive to one side or the other. There's a lot of goals that are scored in this that are shot right at the goalie, which to me seems insane. Like, there should be just some level of, like, we're just going to save that automatically for you, because you should save that 999 times out of 1,000 if you're a decent goalie. There needs to be some semblance of that. Now, the game does stuff like that better in other cases. There are context-sensitive things that happen all the time. Like, if you trap the ball, or the ball comes in, you try to trap it and knock it down to your feet, all that stuff happens automatically. You don't have to, like, hit, like, the...
Yeah, you just became goalie briefly.
Yeah. You don't have to hit, like, the chesting button or whatever to chest the ball down to the ground so you can start controlling it with your feet. The game does that automatically. It needs to also do that with some of the goalkeeping duties, I think, anyway. So... it's fun to play, even despite these caveats that I have with it. It does feel unique still. It still plays, even though FIFA has this stuff, most people don't really consume that part of the game. So it does feel unique and different. And it's exhilarating when you finally do score a goal, when everything kind of works out. The other thing I would say, too, is that working as a team in this game matters. It really does. Like, if you play with another team that kind of gets it, and they're your goalie isn't running down to play offense. Maybe you have two people who are actually playing defense and staying at midfield instead of rushing in and trying to score. It makes a world of difference. You get way less breakaways. And like I said, if you're playing against good people, if they get a breakaway, they score pretty much every time with that little nutmeg that they do over the top of the goalie. So there's a lot of caveats with this. This game can get a lot better is what I'm getting at. If they keep working on it and keep listening to feedback, this game could get a lot better. Unlike FBC Firebreak, this game does not really appear to have an opportunity to become a game as a service. Like, there's really nothing like it. Like, as you play, you unlock new cosmetic stuff or whatever, but it's very simple. Like, you get new kits and stuff like that, but there's no, like, steady stream of unlocks that you get that could support a Game Pass or a game as a service. So I do feel like they've designed this game to be a game that you pay for, and again, it's $30, and I don't think there's any opportunity for them to kind of go back on that and change the game.
And you could always sell a lot of hats.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably how they're going to get some more money, is just selling cosmetics eventually when people kind of... Because the other thing, too, is that, like, what kind of DLC do you do for this? It's kind of like Rocket League. It's like you can just release a bunch of new pitches, basically.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can release characters.
Yeah.
You can put anybody in there.
I guess you could. You could start going, like, over the top and being unrealistic.
Superman could play soccer.
No, you're right. Yeah, they could do the Fortnite thing, for sure. Yeah, but then obviously you wouldn't be able to give them their special powers because that would unbalance the game or whatever. But bottom line is, look, I have some issues with this game, and they're the same issues I had with the early access version, to be perfectly honest. They really didn't fix or change anything that I complained about with that version, but I still had a bunch of fun with it. And I think that's why this game is popular, because even if people were like, well, that wasn't really fair, and like, maybe I deserved to win that game, but I didn't win it, they still had a good time. And I think that's what's probably propelling this game to kind of the player counts that it has right now. So, game's called Rematch. It's on Game Pass right now, but you can get it on every other platform for $30. Would I recommend someone spend $30 on this? If you really like football, maybe. If you really like soccer. But again, I would just recommend that you get Game Pass for $20. Like, this might be a game that you want to buy, though, right? That you always have in your library instead of just something you play for a month on Game Pass. If you really resonate with it, you may want to pay for it. So, I guess a lot of it would depend on how much you like football, soccer. If you're a crazy soccer fan and you play FIFA every year and you're looking for something else that's a little different, this is a great choice and probably worth your $30. But if you're a casual player who doesn't really care about soccer, but you just think this is kind of fun in a sports game and you normally don't like sports games, you're probably going to get your fill from a month of Game Pass. And maybe it sticks around for 2 months on Game Pass, who knows. But will I keep playing this? Maybe. I'll say this. I played the early access version a lot more than the final version, because it kind of lost its luster a little bit when I went to play version 1.0. But there's way more people playing it now. Back when I was playing the early access version, I had to sit there for 10 minutes waiting to get a game. Not anymore. Literally, just instantaneously, you're in a new match because there's so many people in queue waiting to play. So it is one of the biggest success stories of 2025 in video games so far. It is called Rematch. And again, you can play 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5, and it does change the game fairly drastically, particularly 3 versus 3 versus 5 versus 5. But again, if you want to get good at ranked, you're going to have to learn that 5 versus 5 play, and that's really where the teamwork matters. Because the other thing, too, is you can figure out when people suck, and so what you start doing is following them around, waiting for them to not do the nutmeg and lose the ball, and so you're there to kind of scoop it up whenever they get depossessed. But yeah, so hopefully they can figure out a way to get the shooting and the one-timers to feel a little bit more natural and work a little bit better, because right now it feels like a huge hindrance to the game and something that really turns me off. And this is coming from someone who has been a big hockey video game player his entire life. Not quite as big with soccer, but man, I've been playing FIFA for like 30 years now. I don't play it every year, and I don't get crazy into it every year, but I know what a good soccer game is at this point in my life. So that's Rematch. Matt, do you have any questions about it or any insight or anything? Did you play it at all?
Nope.
Will you play it as someone who doesn't typically play a lot of sports games? What do you think it would take for you to resonate with a sports game? Anything?
Nothing.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I play some stuff. I like MLB The Show. Sometimes I've played more arcadey stuff, but I don't care about soccer. I played soccer for 4 years as a kid, and that was plenty. And I don't know. This kind of thing. The most entertaining thing about this game to me is watching the clips that go up on social media about how people are fucking cheesing and exploiting the game, and the guy was like bouncing the ball off the wall in midair for like 30 seconds until he ran the clock out and scored and won the game that way. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty much what I expect these online games to be. Like,
the other thing you can do in this game is you can score as the other goalie. If your goalie, your team's goalie is not paying attention, because you're assigned goalie, and as you saw, if you leave the zone, you kind of shred the mitts or whatever. But you're supposed to be playing goalie. But if you do that, you shed the mitts and you leave the box, the other team is going to score. They can score from anywhere with a kick. So if you have a crappy goalie that wants to score and doesn't want to play goal, you're doomed. Because they can literally, their goalie can kick it all the way from his goal all the way into the other goal. So there's things that they need to tweak about this game, and I'm sure as they get more data and they hear more people complaining about it like me, hopefully they'll change some stuff. But yeah, there's several ways to cheese this game. I mean, every game I played, there's at least one goal that's scored from like 70 or 80 yards out, where someone just boots it and no one has the time. Because again, playing goalie is awkward. If you're playing goalie, even if you stayed in the goal and one of those long moon shots comes at you, it bounces over your head. There's no control option in the game for you to save that. Nothing. There's nothing you can do. If you hit the save button, you're just going to dive onto the ground and it's going to bounce into the goal anyway. And there's no way to like jump up and save it. Like, the game just doesn't give you enough control options in any way, shape, or form, ultimately, I guess is the way I could sum it up best. So, It's Rematch. It's one of the hottest things in gaming right now. But I think I've given you all the ammo you need to figure out whether it's for you or not. I do think it will appeal to people who maybe not like Matt, who just really don't care about sports or sports video games at all. But I think if you have a passing interest in it, I do think that this game could be something that would resonate with you and be something fun that you would like to play. So that's Rematch. It's $30. It's available for everything right now. But as usual, with any game that's on Game Pass, we recommend that you just get that subscription for $20 a month and be done with it. Let's go to our chat very quickly. See if, again, some of you guys may have been playing this and have different opinions on it. Vortex Complex says, I think I might give it a try. If you're a Game Pass subscriber, why not, you know? There are 3 different movements as keeper. Shane is only using the dive. So I only use the Y button. What are the other movements, Veritas? Unlike FIFA, it's not stats-based. That's part of the appeal. I don't understand what you mean by stats-based, meaning that the players are better or worse based upon their real-world counterparts. Because that's true. In this game, every player is the same. And you're right. If you play with, like, Messi or whatever, you're going to have better ball control in a FIFA game, where in this, everyone is on a level playing field. But I don't think that... I mean, that is part of the appeal. I don't think that's why a lot of people are playing it. Like, I don't think casual people are like, it's because there's no stats. Like, they don't even know that. They're just like, it's a fun, goofy soccer game. As a football coach, a nutmeg GK is still the funniest thing, and it happens over and over in this game. Again, the best players know. You just run up to the goalie either dives or hits a button and commits, doink, just nutmeg it right over top of him. And the funny part is, it barely goes in the goal. It bounces, and it bounces one more time right across the line, and it's a goal. And you just see it over and over again once you start playing with better players. Cinetike, do you think the game reaches the same high heights for skill ceiling as Rocket League? I remember some insane aerial moves on Rocket League. No, there's nothing like flying in Rocket League in this. In all honesty, I hate flying in Rocket League, because what it does is people who can't do it won't give up on it. It's like, bro, if you want to learn how to fly in unranked. Like, don't come into ranked games and practice flying and give up 3 frickin' free goals. Like, no, the skill level in Rocket League is way higher than this, I believe anyway. And I've played a ton of Rocket League. Kilib July says no backboards to shatter in soccer. That's true. Vincent says, what platform did you play the final version on? I played it on Xbox. Yeah, because it's on Game Pass. So I played it on Xbox Series X.
I did like NBA Jam back in the day.
I still like NBA Jam. I still like all arcade sports games. I would, if they put out a new version of Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey, I would be all over it. That game is crazy underrated.
I mean, I like NBA Jam because I was working in an arcade at the time.
Yeah.
Everybody, the employees and all the we all had a big league going, basically. We were fighting for the #1 rank on the machine, because it would show your initials gigantic the size of the screen every few minutes, and it would happen, and the owner would be like, there I am, LAD. It was just like, yeah. And that was fun. And then, like, I never really got into the subsequent ones because I thought they kind of fucked with it too much. Like, it stopped feeling like NBA Jam after Tournament Edition. Mm-hmm. And they've never really captured that again for me. Yeah. Like, when Gretzky 3D did a good job, a couple of the NFL blitzes were pretty good in that regard. But I like the Cyberball games with the robots. But it's a hard balance. The only games I really gravitate to in realistic sports are baseball. Yeah. I like those. But
you have the downtime. It's kind of more relaxing. It's not just constant, like...
It's also what I played. Like, I was forced to play soccer. I played baseball by choice. So.
Yeah. And people are slagging me for my lack of soccer. Now, are you trying to hurt me? Because that's not going to work. I don't really care that I don't know what stuff's called in soccer. You knew what I was talking about, and that's all that matters to me. Retro Modern Gamer asks, did you ever play NBA Street?
I did. I played the Street games. I didn't think they were... I didn't think they were any kind of NBA Jam equivalent.
They weren't any better than the arcade sports games that came before them.
No.
They were just like EA's arcade sports games, really. And now those are all gone. So, Cinetech says, to be honest, WRC is the only sport I can speak with authority. I'm really sorry to hear that because, man, the last WRC game was one of the worst games that we've reviewed here on GameFace, maybe ever. Literally abysmal. And then they just lost that. EA just gave up that license. So, actually... maybe you just got some good news. Maybe we'll finally get a good WRC game.
I don't think I have a sport I can speak on definitively.
No.
There's some I know more than others, but I don't know anything. Like, you're not going to... Baseball is probably the closest because I know the most about the history of baseball. But I couldn't tell you who the big players are right now.
Yeah.
Like,
NHL.
I can tell you about the 90s.
NFL for me. And I know NBA okay. But yeah, soccer is definitely a bit of a blind spot for me. Even though I played it as a kid, I just never watched pro soccer.
I certainly don't know anything about pro soccer. I mean, I know
Yeah.
everything I know about pro football. I know from when I'd watch like the World Cup with my Hispanic friends.
Yeah,
like my friend, one of my friends from high school was from Argentina, and their family would do big stuff every time the World Cup happened. And you go to their house, and you'd watch the World Cup, and you just sort of like cheer when they cheered, and listen to his dad like rant about Maradona, and then you'd like realize, oh, the cousins are pro Maradona and their family's anti Maradona, and it's just like,
you're the polarizing guy.
The hand of God thing was a big topic,
It's interesting
here. And then God help you when a fucking Brazilian showed up. Like, it was just a whole thing.
Yeah.
That stuff's fun. Like the people side of it's fun, but I was born without the gene that makes me care what a stranger can do with a ball. Yeah. So that's just sort of it.
You freed up a lot of time in your life, Matt. You really did. Like, if I got the time back that I've spent watching sports, I may have, like, God knows what I've done.
Just the emotion, like just watching people get horribly upset about. I'm like, oh my, I don't think anything's ever upset me that much that wasn't like a dead pet or something. Right. It's just bizarre to me. It's like watching another culture.
It is, yeah. All right. Well, that's it. That's Rematch. Again, it's available for everything. $30. I really struggle to recommend that game at $30, but it is basically free on Game Pass. So that's where I say you go and experience it. Okay. And with that...
Zed Saber Jr., quick, Matt, explain infield fly ball rule. No one can explain the infield fly ball rule. That's a trick question.
It's funny that you know that, though.
Yeah.
It's time for the lightning round, where we round up all the not big enough for a topic in GameFace stories of the week, and we give Matt a minute or two to riff on each one of them. There's lots of small stories in this week's Lightning News Roundup. Not a lot of big stuff, but a lot of medium-ish stuff.
But no small parts.
That's right. And we did kind of spoil some of the things that we're talking about in the Lightning Round this week, talking about it earlier in the show. But the first topic that we're going to discuss, and maybe we've kind of already flog this dead horse, is that MindsEye, which everyone is talking about incessantly at this point, and did very, very poorly sales-wise, and even worse, critically, had to lay off a bunch of developers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that didn't turn out quite the way they thought. Apparently, I saw like the CEO and a couple of the executives have cut their own salaries.
No, that's another game we're going to talk about in a minute.
Was that Splitgate?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, but that's also in the rundown. That's actually next in the rundown, because that's what's happening right now. No, they laid off people. All the execs are still there, Matt. They followed the traditional gaming model where the execs keep their jobs, the people who made the decisions keep their jobs, and the people who just did their jobs are the ones who lose their jobs. And that's happened at MindsEye as well. A bunch of developers have lost their jobs. And the reason that this is really happening is because both Steam and PlayStation are letting people refund the games beyond the 2-hour thing on Steam. They're just saying, hey, this game's crap, so here's your money back. On PlayStation, I don't think they even have that requirement. They're just refunding people. And that is what caused the layoffs. I'll be honest with you, Matt, I have issues with them refunding money for this game. Because, again, when I played it, like, it wasn't broken. Like, it works the way it's supposed to. It's just not very good. And in that way, it's just
I've seen a lot of videos of it breaking completely.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem... The thing is, like, it seems like if it works on your system, it's fine. If it doesn't work, there's really nothing you can do to fix it.
Yeah, I mean, I played it on PS5, and that's a closed system. So everybody who played it on PS5 probably had roughly the same experience I did, and I had no bugs other than just it's a bad game. But
yeah, I mean, they've done it before. They did it with Cyberpunk, but that was more because Cyberpunk was so
it's broken. Like, I'm okay if a game's broken, but when we get to a point where people are allowed to get their money back because they bought a bad game, like, I feel like that's a slippery slope that we should not be a part of. I mean, imagine if through all time we could have just taken back games that were bad. Like,
I would argue that's how that always should have been.
Really? You
Yeah.
don't think it's a responsibility of the consumer to get informed before they make a purchase decision?
It doesn't matter how informed you are, you don't know how good a game really is until you get your hands on it.
But the reviews for this game told people it was crap.
But I've liked games that people said were crap before.
Right, but still, it's like if someone tells you a game's crap,
but when
and then you buy the game and it is crap,
but when did the
should you
reviews
be allowed
come
to
out?
get your money back?
When did the reviews come out?
Well, it doesn't matter. You can just wait till you get a review. That's on you.
Not if you want a pre-order bonus.
Okay, I'll give you that. If you pre-order a game and it turns out to be crap, I'm okay with people getting refunds.
That's mostly what's been happening with the PlayStation refunds.
Is that true?
Pre-order.
People pre-ordered this.
Well, it's not just even because you can still refund a pre-order if because the reviews didn't come out until basically day of.
Yeah, because they didn't give out review code.
Right.
Yeah.
But you can refund a pre-order unless you already downloaded it. Then for some reason,
all bets are off.
You can't. It's done. So that's basically the seems to be the stricture that they mostly lifted was if you pre-ordered it and it already pre-installed it and then it turned out to suck, you can get your money back. Because usually you can't get a refund from PlayStation for any reason after release.
Yeah.
It's all caveat.
Well, usually it has to be an agreement with the developer or publisher.
Yeah. And that really has only happened with Cyberpunk to my knowledge.
Yeah.
And I guess Take-Two finally threw up their hands and was just like, yeah, fine, it sucks.
Yeah. And look, I'm not trying to defend this game or the studio or Leslie Benzies. Like, they made a crappy game and they put out a crappy game. They knew it was crappy when they put it out. I'm not defending them at all. I just don't think it's a good practice to just allow people to refund games if they think they're bad. Because, to your point, Matt, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. A bad game to one person is not a bad game to somebody else sometimes. And so it's like, if you can just say, I don't like this game, I want my money back, I don't think that's something that the industry can sustain.
I think they can. And I think they're going to have to now that physical games are gone. Because the solution to this used to be, this game sucks, I'm going to go take it in and kind of get almost what I... Basically, you'd trade in the brand new game you hated for kind of whatever game. And usually, at least for store credit, you would probably get...
40 or 50 bucks.
40 or 50, and you could just sort of chalk it up to let's pretend that I rented it. You know, I have 15 bucks out the window to rent this game, basically.
Yeah.
And that doesn't exist anymore, really. So you're gonna need some kind of equivalent. Even if it becomes a thing where you keep the money in the ecosystem of wherever you bought it,
right? Just get credit or whatever,
which probably isn't going to solve the problem for Take-Two
in
this case. But I think something like that is, that's why Steam has the refund policy, because people basically said we have no other recourse, and that was actually, I think, it was in part because it was legally required in the EU. So I think that is going to become a thing. It's probably going to have to become something where you're, the 2-hour rule seems to be fine.
That's fair to me, I think.
However, you see things like this game. This game clearly loads up the first 2 hours with a lot of slow stuff and cutscene stuff so that you go past that limit.
Yeah.
Now, I've had Steam refund things that were past the limit just because I've only refunded, I think, 4 things out of probably 2,000 games or something. And one of them was this. But I very carefully went to 1 hour and 59 minutes.
Went right up to the line.
Right up to the line. I'm not taking any chances on that. What are the other one? I can't remember the other. The only other one I remember is I went because I left it idle, and walked away from the computer, and it was 4 hours, not 2 hours, and it was Slitterhead.
No.
And I wrote basically in the thing is I hate this game and I think it sucks, but I accidentally walked away from the computer, and so now it's 4 hours, so I'm just going to see if you'll give it to me. And they gave it to me.
Wow.
And 2 minutes later.
Reddit.
Yeah, 2 minutes later I had my refund.
Wow.
It was like that.
That's cool.
So Steam will forgive you.
They're actually listening.
Yeah. Well, I was like, I'm just going to be honest.
See if that works.
It's I fucked up, but will you still help me? And they did. So
that's great.
So I don't do that much, but a game's got to be real fucking bad. And to be honest, I don't hate this game. It's
hard to hate.
I think this game is overhated. It's not bad enough to hate. It's not. It's just sort of there.
Yeah.
And there's a world where when this drops to $10, I might buy it and finish it just to see how just to see how stupid it gets.
Matt, I'll just let you know.
But for $60, yeah, you better have a refund policy.
I went back and tried to finish this because I have an hour left. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I went back this week. I'm like, I might as well finish this off and get the trophy or whatever. Nope. I played it for another 10 minutes and I was like, no, I can't do it. And I quit. So I'm not saying the game is good. I'm just saying that refunding games because they're bad is a little bit of a slippery slope. All right.
Yeah, but I'm not afraid of slippery slopes.
That's true.
That's how you invent skiing.
Fair enough. All right, next up in the lightning round, and we kind of ruined this one as well. So we've talked already the last couple episodes of GameFace about Splitgate 2 and how the developer went on stage with the fake MAGA hat at Summer Game Fest. There was a bunch of backlash for that. We wondered last week, or I wondered at least, if there were enough people who agreed with the guy to make the game a success.
No, the answer to that is always no.
And
like, you cannot sustain a game off the chuds. We know that.
And that is exactly what has happened. There are not enough people who support what he said, and his jokes we're not cool with his jokes. There's enough people that did not like what he said and were not cool with the jokes that the game is basically
I think the problem
untenable.
I think the problem is more that nobody gave a shit about this game anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I think if he hadn't worn the fake MAGA hat and hadn't been a weirdo on the stage about shit, it still would have worked out the same.
Yeah,
way.
probably.
Like he was just trying to like stir up some kind of controversy to get the game attention,
So people
and
were
it just
getting
didn't,
talking about it.
And it didn't work.
Yeah.
Because the game's not that interesting.
Well, all the reviews for it are basically like, this could just be an expansion for the first Splitgate. Most people are just like, Splitgate 1 was fine. Like, it had the same cool mechanics, and this could have just been an expansion for the first game.
Kind of an ongoing problem with these like free-to-play games.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, oh, you better earn that number at the end of it.
And so they have laid off.
If Overwatch couldn't do it, what do you think you're doing?
Yep. And they have laid off a bunch of staff. And again, this is what Matt was mentioning earlier. To be fair, the guy who went on stage and the other co-founder are not taking a salary. So they're not getting any money. But
because there's no money to get.
Right. So. The other people who worked on this game for them and with them have lost their jobs and now need to find a new job.
Is it everybody? The whole...
No, it wasn't everyone.
It?
Because they said they still need to work on it. And so they kept some people, but
they're clearly cutting their plans back.
Yes. Yeah, their future plans for more content are now changed. And yeah. So...
Again, I don't think the Summer Game Fest appearance really
probably didn't matter that much.
I think this this game was going to be a dud one way or the
other.
other.
I mean, we covered it here on GameFace, and like you guys didn't care. No. I mean, you guys, when we posted the episode, there were no comments about the game.
I mean, my first response to this was, "There's a first one,
right?"
Like,
it's a Splitgate 2. Are you kidding me? Yeah. So anyway,
is the 2 a joke? Is it like, oh, we're just gonna start with a sequel? I was like, okay, I don't know.
Bottom line, I don't think there's gonna be a Splitgate 3.
Probably not.
I think that's
Probably
it.
not.
I think it's done and buried. So anyway, yeah.
Stop making games with titles that are compound words. Is my no MindsEye, no Splitgate.
Yeah.
Like just.
Well,
stop.
his attempt to get eyeballs on Splitgate 2 ended up backfiring. Yeah. Although I do agree with you, I think it was probably headed this direction anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it probably did do a little better than it would have otherwise.
Maybe.
Because I'll tell you one thing, we sure wouldn't be talking about Splitgate 2 right now if it wasn't for that.
Because we were done with it already. You're right. Yep, touche. Okay, next up in the lightning round, NetEase and Tencent are these two companies that just have more money than God, but they've been kind of staying in their lane. They're like, oh, we're the free-to-play guys who do mobile and maybe PC. But lately, they've been trying to break out of that shell and become like big-budget publishers, and that has just happened with NetEase. It just announced its first ever AAA single-player game. It's a game called Blood Message. And I'll just be honest with you, like a lot of games that are coming from these companies and from Asia, it looks pretty damn good. Did you check this out at all?
No.
Also, one thing I will say.
I did not get the Blood Message, unfortunately.
Another thing I'll say about these companies.
Is this another fucking Dark Souls clone?
Kinda.
Yeah, they're all this.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like every other thing. Look at that. It's every ruin I've been in the last 12 fucking years in these things.
My question is, when does this sort of setting overstay its welcome with Western audiences? 3
years ago.
Well, I mean, Black Myth Wukong was just pretty big.
Black Myth Wukong had a lot more stuff going on. This is just kind of vaguely historical.
Yeah.
I mean, Black Myth Wukong started with a bunch of giant gods fighting a monkey dude on a flying cloud. Like, it's a little different than this. Like, this could be an Assassin's Creed game if you squint
that's
right.
kind of what it is, honestly.
Yeah.
It's their attempt at Assassin's Creed. I mean, if this is really in-engine stuff, this game is looking amazing. I mean, NetEase went from 0 to 100 real quick.
I don't see any reason why this couldn't be.
Technically, no. But thinking about the developers, man, there's a lot of skill in these frames, man.
Yeah, I mean, game development on a phone is still game development.
Yeah,
like,
it's all the same. Yeah,
but it's just like, can you make the game compelling? It doesn't. I don't care what it looks like. Everything looks like this now.
Yeah, but back to my question about like Eastern themed games. What kind of an appetite do you think there is in the West for these? Do you think you can keep putting these out and people will remain interested?
No.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I don't know. Like I feel like this. I mean, it looks nice, but like, what's the hook? Mm-hmm. Like what? I mean, right now the only thing that I see unique about this is there's a lot of giant Buddhas.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but like, what is like what am I doing? Like, what is the point? Like, I don't know. Right now it just looks very brown and dusty, and
yes.
I'm not sure you show this to like a mainstream, like a mainstream audience, and you're like, hey, look, it's Assassin's Creed sort of. Like okay, like and well, I don't know what the hook is here.
I mean, I like seeing studios from Asia making great games like this. But I just hope that eventually they'll branch out a little bit more. And...
Right. Well, some of that, I think it feels like they're kind of just assuming that this is what like a worldwide audience wants. Mm-hmm. Like they don't want to make anything too weird. They don't make anything too afield. They're just sort of like, we're going to make a AAA game, and a AAA game is basically, our take on a Ubisoft formula game from like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is probably seen as probably is a safe choice. So you're basically going to get this or like a Dark Souls clone with a dark fantasy twist on like Chinese or Asian mythology somewhere. That seems to be everything. This really does seem to have a lot of Assassin's Creed to it.
Yeah.
But again, it feels like the Assassin's Creed thing is kind of over. Like the boom is sort of over.
As far as like creating clones and all that kind of stuff.
Like well, no one really ever made a great clone.
No, you're
Assassin's
right.
Creed.
They never did.
Like for all everybody mocks Ubisoft for doing the same thing over and again.
Nobody else
ever did it.
It's true. Yeah.
They really didn't have any competition.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I don't know. Part of it is this is not a particularly interesting setting to me.
Neither. To your point, it's all brown and tan.
Yeah. Like, and
or nighttime.
Right, and I realize that that's accurate, but it's also just not.
Yeah, it's just not very exciting. Yeah.
Like I would like something of this graphical fidelity, except it was a Bollywood musical, Assassin's Creed. I'd play a shit out of that.
That's hilarious.
Like go a little crazy. Give me something different.
I think that's going a lot crazy, but
this just feels like it's playing real safe.
Yeah,
just like all those Dark Souls clones.
Yeah.
That come out of Asia. It's like, okay, like again,
now what?
Technical proficiency, very impressive. Like this all looks really cool. All the sunset scenes in this, all the light on all the characters looks amazing. And
yeah, the other thing I would say too is a lot of these games that come from Asia, when they show them for the first time, they don't put out like a 45-second teaser trailer. That trailer was like 5 minutes long.
Like I'm interested in that. Like what's that action RPG that's supposed to come out like this year? Like with the desert stuff. It's desert something. I kept thinking it was Black Desert Online, but it's not. It's not an MMO. It's like an actual like action RPG game.
I don't remember.
I can't remember. I can never remember the name of it because it's got a generic like desert.
Well, Dune Awakening just came out.
It's not Dune,
and that's all sandy
Dune.
And brown.
That's an MMO though. This is not an MMO. This is an action. This is like a Witcher game, but it's from I think China or Korea, and it's desert themed.
Wait, is it Wu Chang Fallen Feathers again?
No, that's garbage. Crimson Desert. That's what it is. Thank you, Cindy.
That's from the same team as Desert whatever.
Black Desert, because it's the same. Black Desert Online. Yeah, it's the same people, but they made an actual game this time.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm interested in that. That looks interesting. But again, it's got like a weird. It's like a weird like take on Western mythology from an Eastern team, and it's just like that's interesting because like it's like Dragon's Dogma. It's like Dragon's Dogma is Western high fantasy shot through the lens of Capcom's Japanese team, and it makes it just weird enough to be interesting, and I like that.
Yeah.
So and like Crimson Desert kind of has that same idea where it's like, oh, it's like kind of almost like Game of Thrones by these people that normally make these like kind of more Eastern epics, and I'm interested in that. But and also because it's a single player offline RPG.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, we haven't really gotten anything like that from any of these.
No, you're right.
Like the closest has been kind of like Stellar Blade, a little bit, which is more of a character action game, but they're trying to do an open world action RPG-ish thing. I did play that on PC as it just came out. It's still pretty good. I think the people who are saying it was a Game of the Year candidate are out of their fucking minds.
Oh,
but,
I think we know that already.
I would really like to see the sequel to that go even harder in the action RPG.
Well, their developer
world.
even admitted that this week that like the narrative in that game is a joke. So
it makes no
that's
fucking
what they're
sense
focusing on,
whatsoever.
he said, for the next one. All right, we got to move on. Next up in the lightning round. This came as a shocker this morning. This news dropped out of nowhere. Today, Microsoft and Xbox announced that it is partnered with MetaQuest for a MetaQuest 3S Xbox edition. It shadow dropped today. It cost $400. And this comes after Microsoft had basically said for years and years it wanted nothing to do with VR.
Yeah, well,
and it was smart to stay out of VR.
Yeah, but now I guess if you can just slap a logo on an existing product, like, why not?
That's all it has to do now. And I think this is smart on Xbox's part, is to form these partnerships with these companies. Why would you do it yourself?
Saves you a lot of trouble.
Oh, so much heartache.
Just make the Xbox app work on this thing.
That's all you got to do. Yep, and so this works with Game Pass, and it works with game streaming. And so basically, Microsoft is just looking at this as like a TV that you can put on your face. So you can see this is an Xbox branding all over this thing. That's its theme. It's like any device that we can think of that'll play Xbox games, we're going to sign a deal. And so now you have the first ever Xbox VR headset for $400. And to be fair, the 3S is a pretty good VR helmet. It's better than like the Quest typically is a little bit higher end. Mm-hmm. But still, it's basically just a 3S with the Xbox logo on it that works with Game Pass. And you can stream games from Game Pass into the headset, which gives you a gigantic TV to look at, even if you're sitting in a closet somewhere. So I think this is smart on Microsoft's part. Do you think so, Matt?
I mean, I don't know about smart, but it's smarter than making their own headset.
Okay, I'll take that. But you can see, like, we're getting to a place, though, where, like, people aren't going to need TVs in, like, 10 years.
They're going to need TVs. Give me a break.
I mean, not as often.
You can't even look at this for 10 minutes before you get sick.
I can sit still and watch this stuff and be okay.
All right.
But if I move at all, or they try to make me move inside the world, that's where
This is never replacing television. You're never going to do that because it locks you away from the other people on the couch. It removes the social experience of watching TV with people. It's hot, it's sweaty, it requires charging. Like that VR is never replacing television.
I'm thinking not more like families or like a house. I'm talking about like people in Japan who live in really small shoebox size apartments, people in New York City who are living in little studios. Like, that's the market to me for these.
That's not a big enough market to justify that kind of technology and R&D.
Maybe not.
That's not critical.
Not now.
It's not critical mass, and it never will be.
We'll see about that. But it's an option. You have another option now if you want to consume Game Pass and Xbox's games. But again, you got to deal with game streaming. So obviously it's not a great choice if you enjoy multiplayer games. Next up, in the lightning round, we just talked last week about Mario Kart World and how Mario Kart 8 had characters from all Nintendo's properties in it. And I had forgotten. And I think Vincent reminded us in chat that, yeah, actually, Zelda and Animal Crossing were in Mario Kart 8. So people are just naturally assuming, well, okay, then Mario Kart World is eventually going to get DLC for Zelda and Animal Crossing and all these Nintendo properties. And no! Nintendo said this week that that is not happening because it doesn't make sense. It forgot that it included those properties in Mario Kart 8 already. It's trying to say, no, look, would you rather ride as Link or a bee? Because what they're trying to say is, like, we don't need those characters. The Mushroom Kingdom has enough already. And it doesn't. Like, if you look at the roster, let me see if I can get through this B-roll to get to the point where I'm actually selected here. Like, this is when I first booted up the game or whatever, so it does have just, like, mostly the core characters. But after you get past, like, the first 2 screens of characters in this game, there's a crab. I mean, really? Would you rather play as a crab than Link? Do I need baby Peach or do I want Link? Do I need 20 versions of Peach or do I want Link?
I feel like this decision will probably not stand 2 or 3 years from now.
Yeah. Maybe not even that long, Matt. Because look, who wants to play as these characters? I get the cow became a thing or whatever, but the rest of these characters, like, who cares?
I like the dolphin. It's not unlocked here yet.
Yeah.
You unlock the dolphin at one point. I'm like, okay, the dolphin's cool. Dolphin driving a car. That's funny.
I played as the cow for a while, but my point is like I would rather play as Link than the cow. So
it really does expose kind of how shallow the Mario bench is. And then you look through here, and like every single outfit is a separate character choice, which is bizarre.
Well, like I said, there's literally 8 versions of Peach in this game. Mm-hmm. She has 8 different outfits, and she's a separate character in the character select screen. So I agree with you, Matt.
Vince is probably right. They won't be in Mario Kart World. They'll be in Mario Kart World Deluxe.
He's probably right. For Switch 3. So anyway, Nintendo is saying that those characters aren't coming to Mario Kart World. I think that they are eventually. I think that they just completely forgot that they had already put them in Mario Kart 8.
Well, I think they're basically like, let's focus on the now. People.
Yeah.
You don't want people waiting around for
That's true, actually.
a complete version.
Because you may look at it like, well, maybe they won't buy the game if they think Link's coming, and they'll wait till Link is released. Who knows? But, Nintendo is crazy the way it thinks about stuff, so that could be the case. Next up in the lightning round, we got some more details, actually kind of the first details on Call of Duty Black Ops 7 this week, and in my opinion, it's not good news. So the game's director shared on a chat on YouTube that there will be no advanced traversal mechanics in this one either. So that will make, is that 4 years in a row of boots on the ground at this point?
I don't know.
I think it is. I think it's 4 years in a row of just running and sliding, and that's it. So if you had hoping maybe we get jetpacks again, or wall running, or anything like that, nope. It is not coming back. Black Ops 7, boots on the ground, you can run and you can slide, and that is pretty much it. And I think, honestly, the reason that happens is because those are the versions of Call of Duty that sell 20 million plus. Mm-hmm. The versions of Call of Duty that you and I really like, they sell like 14 million. And that's a lot of money. 14 million to 20-some million. So I don't know if we'll ever get a Call of Duty again that has like jetpacks or any kind of new traversal to it at all. It feels like the franchise has just settled into boots on the ground, and that's just the way it's going to be. And look, I realize a lot of people listening to this or watching this is like, I like boots on the ground. And that's probably true. That's why it sells way more. So I'm just being selfish here. I'm a little bummed out. I really hope, because this one gave me a glimmer of hope, Matt. Because this trailer, it's all focused on like future technology and things like that. But I didn't really think it was going to happen. I was just hoping beyond hope that it would, and it's not. So Call of Duty Black Ops 7, boots on the ground, no advanced traversal mechanics. Next up, Matt, I'm trying to figure out if this is good news or not. It was announced this week that NetherRealm, which makes Mortal Kombat, and Rocksteady, which now is working on another Batman game, thank God, but made Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which was a huge flop, are now in control at WB Games. When I first heard it, I was like, oh yeah, finally you're doing what's right. And then I started thinking about it. And I was like, wait a minute. Mortal Kombat 1 did not sell very well. They bailed on the DLC before they were supposed to because it wasn't selling. We obviously know what Rocksteady did with its last game, which probably wasn't its fault.
No, Rocksteady was basically ordered.
Right. But still, people didn't like the game, and it made the game, and people didn't like it. Maybe they didn't like it because it was Suicide Squad or some other reason, but the bottom line is they did not like it. So both these studios are coming off somewhat, at least somewhat, disappointing results with their latest game, and now they're taking control of the whole of WB Games. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's better than having people in WB in charge of it.
You're probably right. At least, look, the way I look at it, having the creatives in charge is almost always the better option.
Mm-hmm.
Even if
WB Games has been mismanaged by idiots in suits for almost over a decade now.
It really has been.
So
yeah.
This can only, maybe this won't be phenomenal, but it's got to be better than what we've been having.
Yeah.
Like they've thrown away so many opportunities. They've wasted so much time. Like this week, I think it was yesterday, was the 10-year anniversary of Arkham Knight.
Yeah.
That's how long it's been since Rocksteady made a worthwhile game that wasn't a VR spin-off or this piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like,
I know.
What a way, like we could have 2 more Batman games by now.
I know. Well, then it came out that WB Montreal was working on a somewhat sequel to Arkham Knight that was like dual protagonists, an old Batman and a young Batman.
Yeah, Batman Beyond, basically.
And that was canceled.
Yeah. Waste of time. Wasting everybody's time.
For this
shit.
Games as a Service is kind of the story.
And maybe Mortal Kombat 1 is better if you're not like refocusing half the fucking effort on how to like extend it for 3 fucking years.
Right.
Like maybe just make a game.
Yeah.
Maybe just make a fucking video game
that people want to pay for and play. Yeah. I agree with you.
And
man.
then you make another one.
Right.
And then people want to play that. And you keep doing that. I don't know what you'd call that. I don't know. Maybe you call it game development.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, I agree with you. There's only one way to go, and that's up for WB Games. But I still don't think this is ideal.
And look, it doesn't even necessarily super matter because like we're looking at a company on the verge of being sold off,
right?
And that's all gonna.
And I think that's all they're doing is positioning it to make it more likely to be purchased.
Well, it could be probably if it comes down to having to kind of sell everything off in a fire sale, like they would. WB Games is more or less self-contained in terms of management and can now be sold off as a unit. That's more or less what would happen there. Because really, if you're buying W Games, you're just buying NetherRealm and Rocksteady, and that's it.
Well,
everything else is gone. So.
I also think this is what people wanted to hear. I think they wanted to hear that Rocksteady or NetherRealm are in control because
I mean, let Ed Boon and the Rocksteady people make their own fucking choices.
Yeah,
and
I think people are more likely to buy WB Games knowing that games are in development that these studios wanted to make.
Well, you'll see. I mean, Warner Brothers is clearing a lot of the decks in preparation for the sale. That's why I think. Strange New Worlds just announced that their final season's going to shoot. It's only going to be 6 episodes long. And they haven't even, I don't think they've even aired season 3 yet. Yeah. The final season 5. Yeah. Like, they're clearing the decks at Warner Brothers so that whoever wants to buy it will not have to deal with any legacy projects.
Yeah.
And this is probably part of that.
Probably so. Yep. Okay. Got to move on to the next topic in the lightning round, and this is one people have been asking us to talk about this entire freaking episode. And this week, an indie studio called Studio Camellia, Camellia, I think, announced that it was shutting down and canceling the game that it had been working on after it had collected $340,000 from its Kickstarter last year.
It's not much, really, as Kickstarters go.
Well, it only asked for $100K.
Yeah.
And it got triple what it asked for. And when it started the Kickstarter, it did not tell people that what it was asking for was money to get more money. So what happened was they took that money, created basically a fake demo for the game, which you're seeing footage of right now. They created a completely fake demo of the game that they tried to take around and ship and shop around to investors. The investors said no, and they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar and had to shut down the studio and cancel the game. And the backers are like, what the hell, bro? You didn't say anything in your Kickstarter about this. You said this was to develop the game. And you got triple what you were asking for, and a year later you're out of money. So a lot of people are like, at the very least, you horribly mismanaged the money on this. And you definitely lied to people to get the money from people. The thing about it is that like this is an isolated tale in Kickstarter. I know people want to look at this story and say, well, that's Kickstarter for you. It's really not. Like, there's, a handful of projects, gaming projects, that this has happened with?
Yeah, it doesn't actually happen that often.
Yeah,
this is the risk of Kickstarter.
Yeah.
I mean, that is...
You know that when you sign up. Yeah.
But again, I had never heard of this before this happened. And, like, honestly, like, depends how big their team is, but, like, for a little over a year, $340,000 is about what you're going to need to keep a dev studio open, or maybe even just do a lot of traveling and pitching.
But they asked for 100.
Right, but like you start at something and assume you're going to get more than that. I've seen projects die. And the starting thing, like there's an assumption sometimes with certain Kickstarters and at least certain teams where they think they're going to get like a certain number, a percentage above what they're asking for. I've seen Kickstarters shut down because basically they asked for this amount of money, like $20,000, and they need $100,000 to actually make the thing they say they're going to make, and they thought they'd get there just off inertia, and they didn't. Yeah. Because one of the things that you use to brag is like hit funding goal in like 17 minutes. That happened. That happened this morning with one of the games I'm watching on GameFound. Went live. It hit its funding goal in 17 seconds.
Wow.
And they're sending out emails to brag about that.
Was
their funding goal all they needed to make that game? Probably not.
Yeah. I think the big issue everyone has with this is the lack of transparency. That if they had told them, like, look, man, we're actually not using this money to make the game. We're going to make a fake demo of a game to try to get more money. I think people would have been like, okay. But they didn't. They literally said, this is to make the game.
Yeah, well, I don't think they would have been successful if they'd said that. Because people do not treat Kickstarter and these crowdfunding platforms like that. They treat them as stores.
Yeah. They're like, I want to pay for a game to be made.
And sometimes that's true. There are a number of companies that use Kickstarter or GameFound or whatever the crowdfunding platform, BackerKit, whatever. Yeah. They use them as essentially pre-order machines. Yeah. CMON does that. Awaken Realms does that. Those companies are going to make the game you backed because they've made 40 other games and they're just
under the same.
They
premise.
Automatically make $3 million. They don't make what they used to. CMON's going out of business right now because they overextended themselves on too many things, and I think DC United might have, because they did that Marvel United game I have. They did 3 seasons of that, and the last season of Marvel United did something like, I want to say it's like close to $22 million. Wow. And the DC, then they moved on to DC United, which is the same game, just with DC characters. That game made like $3 million.
I'm not surprised. It's DC versus Marvel.
It is DC versus Marvel, but it's also just like they're in general started to drop because the boom of sort of the big elaborate Kickstarter board game is kind of ending.
Yeah.
But you always have to look at this and kind of see, like, is this real? Do these people have a reputation? Where are they going with this? And you got to ask the right questions. You got to make sure it's not AI art. That's a problem a lot of times now.
Yeah.
But I will say I have backed across all the different crowdfunding platforms. I have backed about 150 things, and only 2 of them have not delivered.
Yeah. Kickstarter's pretty safe.
Yeah.
Yep.
But again, you have to look into it. You have to pay
attention to what you're giving your money to.
Which you can't just be like, that looks kind of like Suikoden. I'm in. It's like, no, you don't know who these fuckers are.
Yeah, it's true.
So I think there's a buyer beware to it, but this is actually not common. Like you said, there's you'll see this story, and underneath it, you'll see all the comments, or even sometimes in the articles or whatever. It's like, well, another crowdfunding thing ripped off its backers. It's like, well, I've never had that happen.
Like the first one.
And you know what? The one time that happened to me, that really happened to me with a video game, was Neil Stevenson.
Right.
So that Clang thing was a bad choice, turns out. But that was the early days.
Yeah.
But since then, never had anything. Yeah. And I have decided not to back some things because I'm like, this doesn't feel right. And every time I've been right later on. Yeah. Or it just didn't make the funny go because everyone had the same reaction I did. It was like, that seems suspicious, so let's not do that. So.
All right. Our last topic for the lightning round for this episode. They showed the first gameplay of the new Madden NFL 26 this week. And every year with Madden, I'm like, oh, this is the year they finally do something worthwhile. It would make me recommend that someone buy it for $70. And I believe this year may be the most disappointing year of Madden ever.
Unfortunately, this year it's going to be $80.
It may be $80, actually. And their bullet-pointed list of updates. Let me just run these past you real fast. A reworked QB system with DNA and signature styles.
What?
Exactly. A new coach DNA feature. And a more dynamic and authentic feel-to-player movement.
Huh?
Yes. Dynamic coach suggestions. Counterintelligence. Wear and tear system. All just relabeled things that have been in Madden off and on for years.
Where's my passing cone?
That's coming back to, Matt, I'm sure. It is...
Ball slightly more oblong than before.
We have reached the point where EA needs to take a couple years off and redo Madden. Because I'm
sure they can't do that.
They can absolutely do that.
I bet the NFL will not let them do that.
Well, so their exclusive contract with the NFL is up next year. And already there are rumblings that both sides may not be interested in renewing that exclusive contract, which opens the door for Sega to come back with NFL 2K and a bunch of other stuff to possibly happen. But that's just a whole other thing. They are probably wondering why College Football 25 last year literally was the best-selling sports game of all time. It's because you took 10 years to make it. And I'll admit, when it came back, it was the same damn game from 10 years ago. It really wasn't any better. People were so starved for college football that they all bought it. Now, the rubber's going to hit the road with this year's college football game, and I bet you it sells less than half what the game did last year. Because both the games need to be completely redone with a completely different angle on it. Madden needs to have a freaking story mode. I'm just telling you, and it can't be this half-assed 2-hour piece of shit that they've been doing for the last decade and a half. A real RPG, American football RPG, where there are legitimate cutscenes, things that you do affect things that happen on down the road. A real NFL game instead of this crap that they've been rolling out for the last... I reached my breaking point with this franchise. What in the hell, man? It sucks. The exclusive license is the worst thing that ever happened to NFL football games. They have no incentive to make it any better because you have these shills that are just going to buy an NFL game every year no matter what. It doesn't matter. I'm NFL. I need an NFL game. Like, they know that they have that
I mean, it's rare that anyone even tries to make an unlicensed NFL game. You know,
right. Well, there's Maximum Football, which is actually really good, but it just went free to play. But it doesn't have any of the real teams or the real players, so people just don't have interest in it. It's like people don't love playing American football. They love living the NFL fantasy. That's what it is. So if you just put generic players in the same game, nobody would play it. You need the Steelers in there. You need the Cowboys. You need the Eagles. That's what gets people to play it. And you need
everybody's local cult.
Yeah,
there's no reason to pay attention.
No, seriously. They need, and they
the emotional investment is the specific team. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter that, like, oh, this team's from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And they're the Fevers.
Right.
It's like, nah, it doesn't really get you going, does it?
EA knows worst case scenario, 4 million people are going to buy the game. That's the bottom. That's the floor for Madden sales. And that's enough to turn a profit on it. So it has no incentive to make the game better or make it something that people actually want to play year after year. I can't believe I've gone now like 3 years without playing Madden more than like 5 hours. I just don't care. I start playing again, I'm like, it's the same damn thing as last year. Or they just relabeled something, some feature that the game had 7 years ago. They took away, and now they're bringing it back, and they're calling it something different. That's Madden now. So, yeah. It sucks. I love NFL football, and there's not a good NFL football game to play. So I really hope that license is dropped, and I hope they don't sign an exclusive license with Sega either. I don't want just NFL 2K. I want 2 licensed American football games competing with each other for our dollars. That's how things are supposed to work. That's how things get better. So
it doesn't even have to be that if you have, again, it's EA is part of the problem here because the MLB The Show didn't have any competition forever, but it continually got better.
Yeah, but it is also to the point now where it's like you're just splitting hairs with every new year. It's like once they put the Negro Leagues in there a couple years ago, like now it's just been the same for 3 years in a row. It's like they're following in the same trap.
Well, you don't need to buy them every year unless you care about the roster.
You really don't.
But that's the dirty secret of these yearly sports games.
Yeah.
It's just remarkable, even as someone who doesn't really care about or pay attention to football or Madden, like, I can't tell. Yeah. And, like, the idea that there's no, like, meaningful, like, equivalent to, like, become the legend mode or the road to the show, like, that they don't put anything like that in, or even if they didn't expand on, like, that story mode that they did with, like, Mahershala Ali and all that stuff, like, it's so weird that just got dead-ended.
Because it's terrible. People play it and they're like, this sucks. I don't want this.
But you gotta iterate. You gotta keep trying. You gotta
keep trying to make it better.
Right. Even if you make it a separate game a couple of times.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of strike out on your own and do your own project on it. Eventually you can fold it back into Madden and make it part of the yearly package. Like, figure it out. Like, what else are you fucking doing?
Seriously,
EA?
man.
You put 3 things out a year. Like, who cares?
What the hell? Like, here's the thing. Like, if you want to keep putting Madden out every year, okay. Let Tiburon keep doing the same damn thing it's been doing.
But you're absolutely big enough to, like,
hire
do
another
other
team.
Stuff. Yeah.
Poach a bunch of people from Sega. Have another team on the side working on this huge revolution. Imagine if they did that. Imagine if a Madden game came out and people are like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, like just pick like.
It would sell 30 million units.
I target like 2029 because that would be the 30th anniversary of Madden. Right?
Yeah.
So like have people have another team with input from Tiburon spend 4 years making Madden 2029.
Yeah.
And see what
you would sell like 30 million units.
It doesn't even have to be Madden 29.
No.
Like Madden 29 could be whatever Tiburon puts out that year, and that could be Madden 30th anniversary
edition or something.
And it'd be like a whole new thing.
And then that takes over, and now that's the new Madden that comes out every year. You can do it if you care enough.
And that way you could make the 30th anniversary be a celebration of all the major teams of all the last 30 years, of all of NFL history. You could really put in a story mode that kind of covers the history of the NFL. Like, you could do a lot of cool stuff with that. Like, something like that would be interesting to me.
Yeah.
Like, let alone, and I don't even care
about American football. Yeah.
But, like, if you put in, again, if you can somehow capture the drama that 30 for 30 pulls off in a Madden game, now you have my attention.
Yeah, you'd have a lot of people's attention. And you definitely have the attention of NFL fans, and there are hundreds of millions of them.
You have my attention, you have football fans.
I mean, their sell-through to the NFL fan is abysmal. Like, their attach rate to the NFL fan is awful.
It's almost like the Game Awards audience.
Touche. All right.
Happy birthday, Jeff, by the way. That's today.
Oh, that's today. Happy birthday, Jeff.
His birthday's today.
All right, well, we're at the end of the show, which means there's just one thing left to do. I'm not saying anything. Put your headphones on, Matt. You guys know the thing we're doing here where I play a bunch of sounds and you try to guess the name of the video game before this guy who is on a lethal tear and nobody can beat him. I'm not saying anything else. I'm literally just playing the clips. And that's it.
All right.
3 rules.
Well, then this is clearly that game where you play a deaf person from Square.
I'm not saying anything. He's trying to bait me into saying stuff. We do have some rules. If you've won this calendar year, do not play. You only win once per calendar year. Chat goes into slow mode. Don't spam the chat with game titles. You will lose. And then finally, you have to like PC games or know somebody who likes PC games, because if you win, we give you a PC game. It's pretty awesome. And this is all because of Soundwizardry.com, the absolute wizards in game audio. If you are not working with Soundwizardry.com, your game sucks. Let's just be honest about it. Or at the very least, your audio sucks. But they don't just work on game audio. They work on film, TV, you name it. Any project.
You know who didn't work with Soundwizardry? MindsEye.
Definitely not.
Coincidence?
I don't know. Go to Soundwizardry.com. Just do it. If you make games, go there right now and hire them. I promise you, you will not regret it. If you work with them and you have a bad situation, you come to me and I'll pay you for it, because I know it'll never happen. Go to Soundwizardry.com. You ready to play?
Yeah, I was given refunds.
I might be giving refunds. I believe in Soundwizardry.
2 hours of Soundwizardry and I want my money back. No, it never happened.
Yep. All right. Let me get the graphics up here for Name That Game Tune, brought to you by Soundwizardry.com, the wizards of audio. And here comes sample number 1, and I'm not saying anything else. In 3, 2, 1. I'll play it once more.
Disney Dreamlight Valley.
No. You're wrong. NFL 2K26, no. Donkey Kyle 64, no. Peggle, no. MindsEye, no.
Peggle's a good one.
Oh my god, we have a winner. We have a winner. Ultimate Villain got it on the first one. It is Super Mario Sunshine. Congratulations. There it is. Ultimate Villain got it on the first sound effect. It is a very common sound effect, though. It's when you get a shine. That's the sound. But I didn't think anyone would get it.
That's my least favorite Mario game, so that was definitely not one I was going to get that fast.
Great job, man. I'll play the rest of the samples just for fun. Here's the second one.
That I would have gotten.
Would you?
Yeah, I would have known that one.
Here's the third one. Sound of using Flood. Here's the fourth one. Peach. And here's the last one.
What happened?
Well, that's Peach. Great job. Congratulations. At least Matt didn't freaking win for once. I hate to say it, but thank God you didn't win again. Anyway, well, you can reach me in a bunch of different ways. You can hit me on SIFTD, where I'm at Shane. On Twitter, I'm at Dinfire. On Blue Sky, I'm Shane Satterfield. Any of those places, right here on Twitch, you can hit me up too, and I'll get you your free code. When you do send me your message, include your Steam user number, friend code, or whatever. Make sure you include that. That way I can just immediately add you as a friend, because I need to be friends with you on Steam before I can gift you a game. So, very simple. But great job. Just reach out to me, and we'll definitely get you your free game. Cinetike just dropping tier 1 subs out of nowhere at the end of the show. Thank you, man. That is awesome. Jam Raid too. What you guys doing? You guys going crazy. Thanks to everybody. I don't know if there's anyone still watching on YouTube at this point. They may not be used to watching a 3-hour podcast about video games over there. There may not be anyone left.
Yeah, I mean, they watch a 9-hour video about L.A. Noire from Tim Rogers. I think YouTube's ready for the long form.
Yeah. Thank you guys for the subs, JM, Rain, and Cinetike. That's awesome, man. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Vincent says Curtis O'Neill made a super chat of $13.99. Thank you, man. That's awesome. Still 55 people watching over there. That's great. All right. Well, that's it. That's our first show on YouTube and Twitch. It worked. I'm hoping that the bit rates over on YouTube are okay. I know people on Twitch said that they're okay here. Next week, my goal is to get the YouTube crew integrated into the show with chat and stuff like that. I'm still kind of working out how we're going to do that, how we're going to split the screen or what. Don't worry about it. That's my problem to worry about. But that's the next goal, is to get YouTube, the audience over there, into the show here, and we'll figure all that stuff out as we go. But it's just good to finally get the show out streaming to 2 different sites at once. It took a long time and a lot of trial and error to get to this point, but I'm glad that we finally did it. Next week, we got Death Stranding 2, which we'll probably talk about for like an hour and 15 minutes. So it should be a great episode. I just want to say thank you to everybody who watches the show live. You guys, obviously, you make the show better every stinking week. Now we have more people on YouTube to help us make the show better, to call out stuff that we get wrong and all that kind of stuff. If you like the show and you want to support us, please head to patreon.com/sifted. This is the last week that is $4 a month. Starting July 1st, it's $5 a month to get all our content early at Patreon. I put up an article on our Patreon. I was pleasantly surprised to see that everybody was literally like, why did you wait so long to do this? No one complained at all. So now in hindsight, I'm like, I should have done this a long time ago, but whatever. I'm just glad that you guys are okay with that extra $1 a month. It looks like literally everyone. I think one person dropped their pledge after I put that up, so I'll take it. I really thought there'd be more. So you guys are awesome. I love you guys to death. Without you guys, this stuff just simply wouldn't happen. So if you can, head over to patreon.com/sifted. That would be great if you could help us out there. If not, if you are an Amazon Prime subscriber, you can help us out with Twitch Prime, which basically, the first time you got to connect your 2 accounts, your Twitch account and your Amazon Prime account. That takes maybe 5 minutes. And then after that, you just have to re-up every month. And it's literally like 2 clicks to give us $2.50 for free. They're already taking the money from you, Amazon. Make Amazon give some of that money you're giving them to us so we can keep doing this show that you love to watch and listen to. We'd appreciate it very, very much. It makes a big difference for us. And our numbers were down last month, so let's see if we can get them back up this month. That would be awesome. And if you can help us with that or Patreon, totally cool. I get it. I've been there. I've been broke before in my life. I'll probably be broke again at some other point in my life. But if you don't have any money, just like the show, comment on the show. All that stuff makes a difference. All that stuff helps us. It helps it bubble up in search. I've noticed that people on Spotify, I see you. You guys have been reviewing the show and leaving comments on the show on Spotify for like 7 weeks in a row now. So thank you. You guys are doing what we're asking. We appreciate it very much. You guys can do that everywhere. We're on every podcast service. If you can leave reviews, comments, ratings, it makes a big difference for us. Again, it helps it bubble up in search. Also, on July 1st, we have some changes coming. We're going to have a new thumbnail for the GameFace podcast. It's actually going to have Matt and I's faces in it instead of just the GF logo. I don't know what I was thinking when I made that thumbnail. It's literally like the worst thumbnail.
That was the style at the time.
It kind of was still. It was a huge mistake. So anyway, we're doing a bunch of stuff. We're also adjusting the exclusivity periods. We've got a bunch of stuff going on behind the scenes right now. But bottom line is thank you. Thank you to our patrons. Thanks to people who show up for our live streams. You guys make a world of difference and make the show fun and better. So everybody, have yourselves a great week filled with great games. GameFace is up and out.